Chapter 1342. However, 800 years ago, the Red Cloud ancestor suddenly retreated and disappeared. Some people said that he was in closed-door training, and some even said that he had passed away. However, when his name was mentioned, it would still be mentioned like a legend. It could be said that his might suppressed an entire era, his name remaining in this place for more than 1,000 years. How could they not be shocked when such a brilliant ancestor, such a legendary figure, and such a living fossil who had experienced the vicissitudes of life appeared in front of them? Ancestral Patriarch Hong Xia, a third-level nascent soul cultivator, only a step away from the mid-stage. But he's too old and his blood essence is almost dried up. Jiang Tian rolled his eyes in an infuriating manner. Then, he smiled coldly in a mocking manner. Kang Te-chu, you're indeed arrogant. What if I, Duanmu Guang, join you? As soon as he finished speaking, an old man with white hair and a white beard and an awe-inspiring temperament slowly rose from 1,000 miles away. He swayed his body and the mountains and the earth didn't seem to exist under his feet. It was as if he was taking a stroll in the park. He easily shrunk the ground into inches, broke through space, and arrived before Jiang Tian in just a few steps. The fourth nascent soul heavenly lord. Everyone was stunned. All of them were moved and dumbstruck. A nascent soul heavenly lord was extremely rare, even in the third-level worlds such as Jade Lake and Dragon Gate. Only a family with a nascent soul cultivator could be independent of the world and last for thousands of years, with a long history, and dare to be called a noble family. Every heavenly lord on the Jade Lake was in charge of a large sect or a powerful country. Everyone, from ordinary people to cultivators and beasts, had to listen to their orders. They were the supreme overlords of a region. The heavenly lords were so powerful because they were powerful. They could hold up the sky with one hand, shake the earth with one punch, and summon the wind and rain. They had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. They were respected by billions of people. Now, 4 nascent soul heavenly lords had gathered in the Chiya world. If this news were to spread, it would definitely cause a huge commotion and leave people dumbfounded. What's the meaning of this? Why are there so many overlords from Jade Lake? Even ancestral patriarch Hong Xia has come to help. Many Qi cultivators were shocked. Originally, Huang Qianzhong's intention was to remain neutral and not help either side. Only the Jade Lake's envoys were allowed to enter, but the Jade Lake's army wasn't allowed to enter or pass through. At the same time, many Heavenly Stars refugees were also taken in. But now, that didn't seem to be the case at all. After all, the arrival of these nascent soul cultivators was equivalent to an army of hundreds of thousands. Kang Te-chu, the truth is that the Jade Lake Heavenly Monarch settled here after learning of Patriarch Binding Sun's death. Huang Qianzhong's eyes flashed with a trace of pride as if victory was already in his grasp. However, His Majesty Emperor Qing has ordered that the Qi world must not be made public and remain neutral on the surface. In this way, in order to further stabilize the rear, you will definitely come to the Qi world to ally with us. At that time, we will catch a turtle in a jar. How is it? Are you surprised that you've fallen into such a deadly trap? Are you trembling? By then, 4 nascent soul heavenly monarchs, Hu Shi, Shen Jingjing, Huang Hongxia and Duanmu Guang, had arrived and floated around Nuanyu blessed land. Their vast Dharma powers intertwined in the air and trapped Jiang Tian like an inescapable net. The 3 Jade Lake Heavenly Monarchs and Ancestral Patriarch Hong Xia are here to fight with the Star Lord Kang Te-chu. What? Is this real? Let's go and see. A battle between heavenly monarchs hasn't happened in the Qi world for 1,000 years. 4 nascent soul cultivators are here this time. This is the most brilliant battle in 1,000 years. At this moment, countless Qi cultivators had heard the news and rushed over to watch the battle. This is a high-level battle. We can't miss it. The nascent soul heavenly monarchs are very helpful for us to understand the laws of heaven and earth and improve our cultivation. They can even help us reach the limit. Let's go. Let's go and see. Even some old monsters who were living fossils had ended their blood condensation and lifespan stoppage, or urgently broke out of seclusion and walked out of their seclusion grounds. They stepped on their flying swords and turned into sky-shocking rainbows. For a time, many sect masters, city lords, and even nobles came to the Crimson Wild World. In less than half an hour, the area within 100 miles of warm jade-blessed land was filled with thousands of cultivators. Foundation establishment cultivators were everywhere, and there were also quite a few golden core true immortals. Every single one of them had a noble status and held great authority. They were terrifying existences that looked down upon the world and made billions of living beings look up to them. Everyone was shocked to see that. The 4 nascent soul stage cultivators were all exuding energy like dragons soaring into the sky. Even though they didn't do it intentionally, they naturally exuded a vast amount of mana that filled up an area of 10 miles, causing the ground to tremble and drowning the entire area. The power of the nascent soul stage swept across the area like waves crashing onto the shore. Under their terrifying energy, Prince Huangqi and the others felt as if there was a 10,000-ton gate on their chests. They couldn't breathe and their faces turned pale. Many early-stage golden core cultivators knelt on the ground and called them heavenly monarchs. Their disciples greeted them respectfully and bowed to them. Right then, those nascent soul heavenly monarchs were like ancient deities in their eyes. Their powerful energy even changed the color of the world. This is the power of the nascent soul overlords. They've already touched the edge of the laws of heaven and earth. They can form a forbidden area. Once they say something, the laws will follow. Even the sacred fire venerable narrowed his eyes, revealing deep reverence as he looked at the 4 figures in the sky that seemed capable of holding up the sky. It was too difficult to cultivate a nascent soul overlord. He had been a perfected golden core cultivator for hundreds of years and only formed a nascent soul a few days ago with the help of the supreme resources in Nuanyu blessed land. But even so, it was only a high-level golden core cultivator. It was just a golden core that had the shape of a nascent soul, but it was still a solidified true essence. His essence, chi, and spirit had not completely merged and could not be considered a second life. If he really wanted to enter the nascent soul realm, he would have to use countless heavenly treasures, spirit pills, and precious medicines. Only then would he have a chance of entering the nascent soul realm. The difficulty of entering the nascent soul realm was even greater than ascending to the heavens. Reverend Holy Flame naturally understood this. But when he felt the overwhelming energy of the nascent soul overlords again, his heart was still burning. Although he couldn't do it, he yearned for it. I thought I could surpass my father by surrendering to the Jade Lake and taking over the Stellar Sky domain. But it turns out that they've already reached an agreement. It turns out that this negotiation is just a trap. The nobles, ministers, and even Lord Shinhua were just bait to lure Kang Taechu here. Huang Qi murmured in a low voice as he came to a realization. But in the next moment, he straightened his body, as if he had obtained a great support, and once again became arrogant and mocked, "You're so arrogant." Ding Ling Dang, for nascent soul overlords, now you know the foundation of the Jade Lake. Now you understand how stupid you are to follow Kang Taechu. He flicked his sleeves and said arrogantly as if he was looking at ants. How about it? Consider my suggestion. Kneel down and beg for mercy. Be my slave and warm my bed. Then I'll spare your life. This is your backer. They had great confidence in Jiang Tian, almost superstitious and worshipful. Ding Lingdang shook her head in disdain. Her face was full of mockery as she snorted. You will understand the power of the Absolute Beginning Senior. They are definitely no match for the Absolute Beginning Dominator. But unfortunately, you have no chance to repent. Because you will all die. You will die in despair and begging for mercy. However, at this time, Lei Bao showed a deep fear. He could no longer be arrogant. His tongue was tied as he stammered, Absolute Beginning Senior, the enemies are too strong. Why don't we retreat first and fight with them? Shen Jiuling was trembling on the ground under the pressure of the violent heavenly lords. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He cursed Lei Bao's ancestors 18 times in his heart. What a scam! Lei Sun, why did you have to show off? Why didn't you just stay in the sect? Why did you have to bring me to such a dangerous place? At this moment, he couldn't wait to run away. However, the heavenly might of the nascent soul stage cultivators outside was too terrifying and tough. They could easily tear him into pieces and crush him into pieces. He wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Brother Absolute Beginning, don't worry. We can go back to the Imperial Thunder sect first and then defeat them one by one. Zhang Qianlei said with his immortal will. He had a rough and violent personality and was not afraid of death. But after coming to the Dimension World, he had to admit that there was always someone better than him. The overlords in the Dimension World were too powerful, especially the nascent soul overlords who were terrifying. At this time, they hadn't attacked yet. They just stood quietly in the air and the energy they released crushed everyone's bones. In his opinion, Jiang Tian was only a golden core cultivator. He could kill a peak stage golden core cultivator, but there was a huge gap between him and a real nascent soul cultivator. In the face of such a peerless situation, Jiang Tian should avoid them, save his strength and increase his power before killing them. As the saying goes, revenge is a dish best served cold. Ha, you don't know the power of the absolute beginning dominator. Bai Zai formed a hand seal and his dantian rumbled. He formed a shield with his dharma power, protecting Ding Lingdang and the others. He said with a teasing smile, the dominator will conquer the universe in the future. For nascent soul cultivators are nothing to him. Then, Bai Zai released his true essence and showed his strength. Qi Yi and Yao Qi finally realized that there was another nascent soul cultivator there. Is it Bai Zai? Crown Prince Huangqi, Supremacy Shenhua, and the others were stunned, but the next moment, they showed disdain and shook their heads. It's useless. It's useless no matter who comes. He's also here to die and can't change the situation. I didn't expect him to follow us here. It's a good time to kill him. After tonight's battle, the Stellar Sky Domain will be completely removed and become a colony of Yao Qi and Qi Yi. Chapter 1343. They weren't the only ones who thought so. As a matter of fact, at this moment, almost all of the Qi Yi and Jade Lake cultivators thought that Jiang Tian would either lower his head and admit defeat, or flee at the sight of the wind. Kang Te Chu is no match for the four nascent soul heavenly lords. At this moment, if he still has a brain, he should lower his head and surrender. Then, he should go to the Jade Lake world and kneel in front of Emperor Qing and beg for mercy. That might be able to appease the Azure the Arch. Indeed. If he stubbornly resisted, only death would await him. But it won't be as simple as killing him. His Majesty, the Azure the Arch, is enraged. He will definitely slaughter cities and countries, killing all living beings in the heavenly star realm and the earth realm. Hallowed Sacred Flame, Crown Prince Huangqi, and the others all wore smug and mocking smiles. Is this the deadly trap you were talking about? A bunch of old bones with one foot in the coffin want to kill me? Jiang Tian stepped out of the pavilion and faced the four nascent soul heavenly lords. He put his hands behind his back and smiled. He put his hands behind his back and said, in fact, I'm going to attack the Jade Lake and kick your heads around. Since you're so sensible, you took the initiative to deliver your heads to me to chop off. This saves me the trouble of looking for you. After hearing what he said, everyone went silent. Everyone opened their mouths in shock, as if they were looking at a lunatic staring at Jiang Tian's back. How dare you! Shen Jingjing's charming face was filled with murderous intent, and her long, shapely eyebrows stood up as she shouted coldly, today, I'll definitely grind your bones to dust and take revenge for my Lang. You're just a frog at the bottom of a well. How dare you kill the heir of the Duanmu family? This enmity cannot be washed away even with all the water in the three rivers. Today, I will kill you. Duanmu Guang also shouted. Today, I'll use your blood and life to comfort the souls of the cultivators in Jade Lake. Ancestral Patriarch Hong Xia shook his head with a hint of regret in his eyes. Indeed. For Jiang Tian to be able to cultivate a golden core in a small place like the Earth realm, and it was even a high-grade golden core, he could be said to be an extremely talented person. However, he was still ignorant. He didn't know how terrifying a nascent soul heavenly lord was and the huge gap between a golden core cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator. Against 4 original leveled cultivators, he still wanted to put up a fight. He had no chance of winning. This would only result in an even more miserable death. Kill. As for the hot-tempered Hushi, he didn't waste any words. His eyes were cold as he swung his long saber and slashed out. Chi La. In an instant, a forbidden blade domain was formed. In this forbidden area, the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth was controlled by Jiang Tian. Strands of killing aura burst out of thin air, carrying the image of a blade and killing intent, and filled the area of 100 meters around Jiang Tian, rolling like a tide, rushing towards him. These space-killing lights were not condensed chi forms or avatars. They were a type of forbidden domain and belonged to the category of space attacks. The killing aura was as light and translucent as a glass crystal. It flickered with multicolored light and was extremely beautiful. But in fact, every single one of them was extremely terrifying. They were extremely sharp and seemed to be able to cut the sky and split the earth open. The killing aura slashed and slashed randomly, shattering the space easily. Large areas of space were shattered. No divine power, cultivation art, or golden core avatars were able to withstand a single blow. Hushi had comprehended the dharma of the long saber and used it as a foundation to control the space and form the long saber forbidden blade domain. It could cut through space and destroy everything. Another forbidden blade domain. But Jiang Tian was calm and relaxed. He even took a sip of the thunder fire wine with a look of disdain. A real forbidden blade domain directly controlled the dharma of space. Like ancestral patriarch Binding Sun, Hushi only controlled the dharma of the long saber and used it to activate the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth to form a forbidden blade domain. Right now, Jiang Tian was relying on the chaos divine disc to divide the golden core into the Si Kaming, Kuanpeng, and Tao Tai returning to origin. Although it was only an innate ability, what it controlled was the true space law, which was confinement, shattering, and devouring. It was also a true forbidden area. Jiang Tian wouldn't take him seriously. Die. Duanmu Guang also attacked and clapped his hands. In his dantian, which had evolved into a spirit embryo, his green nascent soul roared at the sky. Instantly, an endless amount of green qi rolled out and filled the area. Even his hair was dyed green. Boom! A cyan-colored rolling wood appeared out of thin air and fell from the sky, smashing towards Jiang Tian's head from the sky. This perfectly straight rolling wood was sparkling and translucent, overflowing with green, verdant and replete with moisture, as if it was carved from jade. It smashed down like a giant pillar that supported the heavens, also a type of restricted region, blasting space to pieces. He had comprehended the dharma of Duanmu, which could freeze the wood element vital qi. A green dharma of Duanmu could crush mountains and destroy giant cities. Sigh. If you were given 100 years of time, you might be able to compete with us, but now. Ancestral Patriarch Red Cloud shook his head regretfully. But his attack was still ruthless and merciless. He waved his sleeve at Jiang Tian. Under his sleeve, red light filled the air and surged like a tide. The red clouds seemed to be formed by the rising sun. It was dazzling and beautiful, making people feel warm. It was like a giant piece of red jade stuck to the sky. What a beautiful red cloud! In the distance, a cultivator sighed with intoxication. There were even some cultivators who forgot that this was an earth-shattering battle. They were in a daze and couldn't help but fly towards the red clouds. However, as soon as these cultivators came into contact with the red light, they instantly turned into skeletons. Their flesh and blood seemed to have evaporated. Walala, in the end, even their bones turned extremely dark and shattered into fine powder. Oh no, it's dangerous. Come back. Many people only realized the danger and terror when they saw this. Even some Foundation establishment cultivators who accidentally came into contact with the red light screamed and immediately chopped off their own arms to save their lives. Blood splattered everywhere as they quickly retreated. Duh. Is this the power of a nascent soul? It's too scary. A red cloud can kill a Foundation establishment cultivator and severely injure a golden core cultivator. How terrifying is that sea of red clouds that overflows the heavens, boundless and endless. Countless cultivators who were watching felt their teeth chatter. They stepped on their flying swords and retreated 100 miles in the air. They scanned with their divine consciousness from afar or watched with the help of projection Dharma artifacts. In fact, those dead cultivators were all from the Chi-Yi world. But ancestral patriarch Red Cloud did not even look at those corpses and bones. He only focused on controlling the red clouds to envelop Jiang Tian. At his level, he was high above and looked down on billions of living beings. His Tao heart was already as hard as iron and as stable as a rock. He regarded human lives as nothing. In this world, there was nothing that could move him. The deaths of a few cultivators and mortals could not cause any ripples in his heart. Count me in too. Shen Jingjing's clear eyes were filled with killing intent. With a shout, the 1,000 black tails swayed and swept across the sky, filling up the entire area and moving towards Jiang Tian. This was not a Dharma idol, but a forbidden zone. Moreover, it was born from her bloodline and was blessed by the heavens. It was even stronger than Patriarch Binding Sun's forbidden zone. Under the encirclement and entrapment of the 1,000-tail forbidden region, Jiang Tian seemed as if he'd been bound by numerous supreme divine chains, and it was like he'd been shackled by shackles that were heavy like mountains. His magic energy, divine ability, Dharma idol, and even the surrounding space had been confined, and it seemed as if he was utterly unable to struggle free. She wanted to lock Jiang Tian up and turn him into a defenseless little rabbit, allowing them to do whatever they wanted to him. Can he withstand the attacks of 4 nascent soul cultivators? At this moment, Zhang Qianlei, Lei Bao, and Shen Jiuling were all terrified and their hearts sank. Be careful, Lord of the Taichu's sect. It was even to the extent that Ding Lingdang's pretty face had become very serious, and she was worried for Jiang Tian as she muttered to herself. Her eyes were slightly red, and her pair of beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at Jiang Tian's figure in the air. Her exquisite and delicate body trembled slightly, and her tightly clenched fists once again. Ha! Kang Taichu is trapped by the 1,000 Tails forbidden area and can't even move. Does he really think he can challenge the 4 heavenly lords? He's dreaming. Crown Prince Huang Qi sneered as he looked at Ding Lingdang, his eyes filled with greed as he secretly swore in his heart. This woman is so proud. After I kill Kang Taichu, I'll take her body tonight and pamper her in 18 different ways. The 1,000 Tails forbidden area is locked down, the long knife forbidden area is filled with murderous aura, the Duanmu forbidden area is suppressing from above and the red glow corrodes the forbidden area to reinforce. This is an inescapable trap. Kang Taichu is doomed today. Venerable Shenhua felt dizzy as he watched. His mind was wandering as he sighed deeply. When the 4 nascent soul heavenly lords attacked together, their power wasn't just increased by 4 times, it was increased by dozens of times. Even a peak stage nascent soul cultivator or soul formation grand cultivator would be flustered and exhausted. The 1,000 Tails forbidden area of the Black Fox can trap everything. I don't think Kang Taichu can break through it. Huang Qianzhong's royal aura was monstrous, and his aura was solemn. Like a peerless heavenly sword, he stood proudly in the void, overlooking the entire continent. You've all touched some kind of law of heaven and earth and learned a forbidden area. Although it's only a fake one, it's still very rare. Jiang Tian sighed with a leisurely expression. Not every nascent soul cultivator could learn a forbidden area. Even fiend ancient Lake in Tunguska couldn't cast it. And yet, Jiang Tian had to sneak an attack and use the Ding Hai Pearl, the darkest stone tablet and many other deity artifacts to win. A few days ago, Jiang Tian had even killed Ancestral Patriarch Binding Sun because Ancestral Patriarch Binding Sun's forbidden area could only freeze a small area of space and the essence chi of heaven and earth. It was still a far cry from Jiang Tian's forbidden area. And yet, those four were different. They had already turned the forbidden area into an attack. In terms of power, they were comparable to normal mid-stage nascent soul cultivators and were much more powerful than ancestral patriarch Binding Sun. If Jiang Tian hadn't formed the chaotic divine disc golden core, Jiang Tian would have had to run away and he would only have a 50% chance of winning. Unfortunately, I've already formed the chaotic divine disc and mastered many laws. I can change my divine powers at will. You're dreaming if you want to kill me. Facing the endless waves of forbidden zones, the divine light in Jiang Tian's eyes suddenly skyrocketed. Within his dantian, the primal chaos divine disc rumbled as it rotated. Chapter 1344. Tao Tai returns to its essence. Everyone was shocked to see that. The forbidden zone of 1,000 tails, which seemed to be able to sweep the heavens and bind the stars, suddenly collapsed and turned into black light ribbons that surged towards Jiang Tian's dantian. At this moment, a palm-sized black whirlpool appeared in Jiang Tian's dantian, and it continued to expand, quickly becoming a kilometer in circumference. It was like a deep black hole, and it possessed a vast and boundless suction force. The black vortex was like a whale sucking in water and the black light ribbons quickly disappeared. The forbidden zone was more powerful than the Dharma form and was difficult to control. It was the result of the refinement of a cultivator's essence, chi, and spirit and the fusion of the nascent soul. When a cultivator used the forbidden zone, all of his essence, chi, and spirit were activated. To be exact, it was activated with the nascent soul. The forbidden zone and the nascent soul were closely connected. Once the forbidden zone was suppressed and controlled by the opponent, the nascent soul would be severely injured or even controlled by the opponent. Pfft! At this moment, Shen Jingjing's face turned pale and then flushed. She spat out a mouthful of blood and the black fox-shaped nascent soul was almost pulled out of her body. She flew uncontrollably towards Jiang Tian. Ah! She screamed in horror and pain as her delicate body rushed through Red Cloud Old Ancestor's Red Mist Forbidden Domain and Hushi's Long Saber Killing Light Forbidden Domain. She was instantly killed and corroded until she was dripping with blood and her flesh was torn open. Her supreme protective Dharma robe had been corroded into pieces by the forbidden domain, leaving only a small black undergarment, revealing her exquisite curves and large patches of snow-white skin. Once Jiang Tian made a move, his speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, Shen Jingjing fell into Jiang Tian's hand. At this time, the other three forbidden zones had not attacked yet. How could this be? Stop! Hu Shi and the other ancestral patriarchs were shocked and hurriedly stopped the forbidden zone. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Even though Zhang Qianlei had heard from Bai Zhe that Jiang Tian was very strong and was mentally prepared, he still stood there in a daze. He couldn't believe it and immediately felt sour in his heart. He was afraid that he would never be able to catch up to him again. After witnessing Jiang Tian's power outside the border city, Bai Zhe and Ding Lingdang were relatively calm, but they also took a deep breath. Too strong. He broke a nascent soul forbidden zone with a snap of his fingers. As for Lei Bao and Shen Jiuling, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They were scared out of their wits. Only the true dragon patriarch knew how terrifying Jiang Tian was. He was also a nascent soul realm cultivator, but he probably couldn't even withstand one move from Jiang Tian, so he didn't show much emotion. Venerable Shenhua, Crown Prince Huang Qi, Huang Qianzhong, and the other cultivators of Jade Pool and Qi were dumbfounded as they stared at Jiang Tian's figure in the sky, unable to speak for a long time. Meanwhile, Hu Jingjing's slender neck was tightly grasped by Jiang Tian's hand. She was completely naked and only her tube top covered her pair of proud breasts. She had the black fox bloodline, so she was tall and slim. She was born to be seductive and extremely seductive. Right then, there was fear in her eyes and tears ran down her cheeks. She trembled like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Against the backdrop of the boundless wasteland and the dusky sky, it revealed a kind of desolate allure, an extremely sad beauty, a moving weakness and loneliness. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. They had heard that Kang Tae-chu was very powerful, but no matter how powerful he was only a golden core cultivator after all. How could he fight with a nascent soul cultivator? However, Jiang Tian didn't even attack. He just spun the divine disc and his dantian rumbled. He broke a forbidden zone and captured Heavenly Lord Hu Jingjing, which made them feel as if they had fallen into a nightmare. Duanmu Guang was enraged and shouted, "Kang Tae-chu, let her go and we'll spare your life." Seeing that Jiang Tian was unmoved, he took a deep breath and hurriedly gritted his teeth. "As long as you're willing to let go of Jingjing, we'll let bygones be bygones. As long as you hand over Earth, you and your family and friends can go to the Jade Lake and enter the Tiandao sect. You'll also have a chance to become the disciple of Emperor Qinqing. Of course, if you don't trust the Tiandao sect, we can also send you to other dimensions. We'll give you unlimited resources and help you reach the nascent soul level as soon as possible. Besides, we'll treat the creatures on Earth well and live in harmony with them." At this moment, he offered many conditions in succession. It could be said that he was making extreme concessions. When he said these words, he felt deeply humiliated. He was a nascent soul Heavenly Lord and his descendant had been killed, but he couldn't take revenge. Instead, he had to lower his head and make peace with his enemy. More importantly, his enemy was only a first-level golden core cultivator, which was even weaker than his disciples. But he had no other choice. Shen Jingjing was also an important person in the Jade Lake. She was a woman who could be the deputy family master of the Shen family, a Heavenly Lord family. There were even rumors that she had an affair with Emperor Qinqing and that Emperor Qinqing intended to make her his concubine or even his queen. Otherwise, she wouldn't have never had a partner in her hundreds of years of life. In Emperor Qinqing's heart, she might be even more important than Chen Liuhe. This trip was to increase her bargaining chip and make it easier for her to climb up the ranks. Duanmu Guang and the others certainly hated Jiang Tian. After all, Jiang Tian had killed more than one of their descendants. Every single one of these heirs had been nurtured with endless resources and painstaking efforts. However, because of Hu Jingjing's special identity, they didn't dare to do anything to Jiang Tian. Even if Emperor Qinqing were there, he would let Jiang Tian go for the time being to save Shen Jingjing. Of course, it was also possible that he would secretly kill Jiang Tian afterward. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian would stop after he got what he wanted. Even Crown Prince Huang Qi was envious. He was a genius and came from a noble family, but he also tried his best to please and give the envoys of the Jade Lake a lot of benefits. He finally had the chance to enter the Jade Lake, but whether he could enter the Tiandao sect was still a big question. But this, a lowly ant from the Earth realm, had such great fortune. It could be said that he had reached the heavens in a single bound. "Let go of the grudge between us." Jiang Tian squeezed Shen Jingjing's neck and looked around at Duanmu Guang and the others. "What right do you have to forget about it? You killed so many of my people. Don't you want to pay with your life?" "Kang Tae-chu, what do you mean?" Rhinoceros Who shouted with his eyes wide open. His voice was like thunder. His long saber was still stable and didn't dissipate. It was obviously stronger than Patriarch Binding Ri's. Patriarch Binding Ri's forbidden area could only hold on for a few seconds. "What do I mean? Old bastard, don't you understand human language? I'm a vengeful and narrow-minded person. Of course I'll kill you and the forces of the Jade Lake who are my enemies." Jiang Tian carried Shen Jingjing with one hand. He was still calm and composed as he smiled and said with a smile, "I'll cut off Emperor Qinqing's head too." What a joke. Jade Lake, the Tiandao sect and your families are nothing. Do you think I want to go? I want to go. I want to be an emperor. I don't want to be a personal disciple. Who does Emperor Qinqing think he is? What right does he have to be my master? In the vast universe and the endless starry sky, how many people are qualified to be my, Jiang Taichu's, master? To put it bluntly, Emperor Qinqing isn't even qualified to be my sword slave. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Saint Fire's dantian rumbled as his aura surged. He roared, "How dare you hurt Fairy Jingjing? Do you think you can leave here alive? Even if you have the ability to reach the heavens, you can only die here. Saint Fire, what's the point of hiding in the back? Come and fight me if you have the guts." Jiang Tian laughed, and the hand that was holding Shen Jingjing's neck suddenly tightened. The black fox fur on her arms and neck appeared and disappeared. It was a sign that her true essence was suppressed and her cultivation level dropped temporarily. She was about to reveal her nascent soul. "Taoist Tai Chu, I advise you to take a step back." Saint Fire didn't dare to go up. He snorted and stopped talking. Huang Qianzhong also softened his tone and tried to persuade Jiang Tian with a smile. The Earth Domain and the Stellar Sky Domain are poor places after all. You're invincible. What's the point of calling yourself a Dao ancestor? Why don't we pledge our loyalty to Emperor Qinqing and go up to heaven to enjoy the blessings of immortals forever? Kang Teichu, let go. Red Cloud Patriarch shook her head and said. The teleportation array between the Stellar Sky Domain and the Kanglin Domain is unimpeded. There are countless experts in the Kanglin Domain. If you're stubborn and resist today, even nascent soul-old monsters won't be able to leave here alive. Many cultivators couldn't help but change their expressions upon hearing this as their imaginations ran wild. Originally, the people of the Jade Lake world could enter the Qi-Yi world through the teleportation array. It was even easier to reach the Qi-Yi world from the Kanglin Domain. After all, both were within the solar system and were very close to each other. The Kanglin Domain had been occupied by the Jade Lake for a long time. It was even a few years earlier than the Stellar Sky Domain. There were countless experts of the Jade Lake and even nascent soul realm experts from other realms that were on good terms with the Jade Lake. In this way, there might be more than a few nascent soul realm experts in this domain. There might even be late-stage nascent soul realm experts and veteran nascent soul realm experts. At this moment, everyone held their breath and looked at Jiang Tian, waiting for Jiang Tian's decision. Tai Chu Sovereign, this is a good condition. There's no need to fall out with the other party. Lei Bao and Shen Jiuling were communicating with their divine senses, trying to persuade Jiang Tian to make peace with the other party. In such a situation, any wise person would know what to do. Jiang Tian had already killed Patriarch Tai Ri and Chen Liuhe. Today, he had defeated Shen Jingjing. This was an extremely great achievement. With just these two battles, he could be proud of the Jade Lake world and even all the third-grade realms. Moreover, if Jiang Tian was afraid of Emperor Qinqing's revenge, he didn't have to enter the Jade Lake. No one could ignore his achievements. He would be recruited by other realms. It could be said that his future was bright and smooth. He would become a genius of the youngest generation, gain both fame and fortune, and have unparalleled glory. Jiang Tian didn't have to add fuel to the fire and make a life-and-death feud with Emperor Qinqing. At this moment, Jiang Tian had already won reputation by letting go of Shen Jingjing. He could also escape unscathed in exchange for safety and a chance to ascend to the heavens. For many people, why wouldn't they do such a good thing? I have a problem. I'm timid. When others threaten me, I'm so scared. If my hand trembles, it's easy for me to kill someone. However, to everyone's surprise, Jiang Tian acted as if he didn't hear anything and said with a smile. As he spoke, he shook his arm and was about to crush this girl. Chapter 1345. How dare you? Duanmu Guang and the others were enraged. Cracking sounds came from all kinds of forbidden realms as they prepared to attack. Jiang Tian leisurely glanced at the three and said with a smile, in this 9 heavens 10 earths, there really aren't many things that I, Jiang Taichu, don't dare to do. If you dare to kill her, there won't be a place for you anywhere in the world. The Jade Lake world won't give up until you and your family are annihilated. Hu Shi made a vow and his killing intent soared. Lord Taichu, don't kill me. I'll satisfy you in any way you want. Shen Jingjing sensed Jiang Tian's killing intent. She spoke with her immortal will and twisted her snake-like body, trying her best to seduce him. Annihilate my family? I'm so scared. But Jiang Tian didn't even look at Shen Jingjing. How could such a woman make him feel the slightest bit? Then, you can try. Jiang Tian only looked at Duanmu Guang and the other two nascent soul cultivators coldly. Then, he suddenly shook his arm and the power of the Kunpeng divine body burst out. Countless crystal clear wings moved along his arm and slashed like a peerless heavenly sword, as if they could split the sky and the earth. No! Countless people exclaimed. But it was too late. Arg! A mournful and sorrowful scream resounded. Under the astonished gazes of countless people and the suppression of the three nascent soul stage cultivators, Shen Jingjing was cut into a rain of flesh. A mist of blood and broken jade-like bones drifted in the air. She had perished and breathed her last. Even her nascent soul was shattered in an instant. For a moment, the world became extremely quiet and everyone was stunned. The three nascent soul stage cultivators threatened Jiang Taichu verbally and personally suppressed Shen Jingjing. They were surrounded by tens of thousands of soldiers, but Jiang Taichu still killed Shen Jingjing without any hesitation. At this moment, everyone's hearts were palpitating. Kang Taichu first killed the Arch-Qinqing's son and then his woman. It was an irreconcilable feud. The two sides could only fight to the death. He destroyed the nascent soul with one attack. How terrifying! As for Venerable Holy Fire and the others who had higher cultivation bases and were more insightful, they were even more shocked by Jiang Tian's terrifying abilities and strength. Nascent soul. It was the condensation of a cultivator's essence, energy, and spirit. It was an even higher level life form that was 10 times, 100 times tougher than a golden core. It was eternal, indestructible, and difficult to destroy. In their eyes, Jiang Tian, who had shattered the nascent soul stage, might have a slim chance of winning against three nascent soul stage cultivators, but he already had the strength to suppress all gold core stage cultivators. How terrifying! Those people who were laughing at Jiang Tian just now felt chills all over their bodies. They were so scared that they sat on the ground and pissed their pants. Jiang Tian's strength could even shatter a nascent soul in an instant. If he wanted to settle the score with them, wouldn't he be dead? This is too domineering and ruthless. I like it. After a few seconds, Bai Zhe came back to his senses and laughed loudly. Zhang Qianlei and the others gasped. It's over. It's over. As for Lei Sen, Shen Jiuling, and the others, their vision turned dark, and they almost fainted. Now, there was no way to negotiate. What followed next would be a world-shaking battle, one to the death, and the other to the death. Little bastard, I'm going to tear you into pieces today. Hu Shi's roar resounded through the world. At this moment, he was like an enraged Tyrannosaurus. Shen Jingjing had participated in this battle to gain experience. Emperor Qinqing had said that they had to protect her. Now that she was killed, Emperor Qinqing would be furious and he would not be able to escape responsibility. Boom! The long blade Forbidden Realm that he had just disappeared appeared again. Space Blade Aura and Killing Aura surrounded Jiang Tian and locked him in place. Suppress! Duanmu Guang also stomped his foot. The Forbidden Realm that looked like green jade tore the space apart and pressed down on Jiang Tian again. Go to hell! Ancestral Patriarch Red Cloud waved his sleeves and the rolling red clouds turned into wisps of essence chi that pushed toward Jiang Tian from all directions. They overlapped with each other like a red smoke screen, trying to seal and kill Jiang Tian completely. Ha, you want to kill me? You're too weak. Break! Jiang Tian said in a voice filled with mockery. Then, he let out a long roar and threw out a simple punch. At this moment, Jiang Tian was extremely happy. Earlier, he had used the power of the sky-severing sword to break Ancestral Patriarch Tai Ri's Forbidden Realm. But just now, he had broken the Forbidden Realm with his body, which was the result of the stabilization of his chaotic divine plate golden core. Now, every movement of his contained the aura of Dharma laws and truth. Controlling the Forbidden Realm was like an instinct, as if it was his divine power. Jiang Tian's punch looked ordinary at first, like a child's punch. It didn't even have much strength. But the moment he threw the punch, there was an earth-shattering roar and the shadow of a kunpeng appeared in front of Jiang Tian's fist. It suddenly turned into a dazzling golden line. There was a sizzling sound. With an ear-piercing sound, Hushi's long saber forbidden domain was sliced into two like butter being sliced by a red-hot saber. The boundless space saber radiance was completely shattered into a mess of space fragments, like a pile of messy ash. The golden line was very thin, but it looked extremely sturdy. It was like an indestructible vajra, with an aura of immortality. The golden line was so sharp that it seemed to split space and heaven and earth. At this moment, there was nothing in everyone's eyes except for the dazzling and sharp golden line. Sizzle. There was another sharp sound. The endless red cloud poisonous mist was also broken, and it was even easier. It was like a piece of paper being torn apart. How is this possible? The spirit embryo trembled and Hushi suffered a backlash. His nascent soul let out a cry and his huge body shook violently. A stream of blood spurted out from his mouth. He can break the forbidden realm with his body. Red Cloud Ancestor also cried out. His face turned as white as a sheet of paper, filled with fear and disbelief. He retreated dozens of miles as if he had seen a ghost. Jiang Tian used the kunpeng divine body to break the laws of space, and his speed was too fast. He broke through two forbidden realms in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the rolling green jade forbidden realm had just landed 10 meters above Jiang Tian's head. He must die. Duanmu Guang roared. The nascent soul in his body roared as he frantically activated the forbidden realm to speed up the suppression of Jiang Tian. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian only took a step in the air, and as if he had shrunk the ground into an inch, he instantly left the area and dodged the rolling green jade forbidden realm with ease. Boom! Space crumbled and black cracks appeared like spider webs at the place where Jiang Tian was just a moment ago. Countless spatial fragments were like multicolored glass, reflecting a magnificent radiance that cut through everything and shot out in all directions. What a fast movement technique, to destroy space with his body. Seeing Jiang Tian rushing towards him, Red Cloud Ancestor's face changed drastically. His face was filled with fear and panic as he retreated as if he had seen a devil. Don't retreat. Let's attack together. Hushi roared and took out a Dharma treasure. It was a palm-sized dragon rhinoceros head and he threw it at Jiang Tian. The head of the rhinoceros grew larger with the wind. It was like a huge mountain in the sky. The aura of the rhinoceros soared into the sky, and the might of the dragon was vast. It swept through the sky, causing the void to tremble. The ground within a radius of 100 miles was trembling, and it quickly collapsed, splitting open huge ravines. The horns on the head were like peerless heavenly swords, sending out a powerful wave of Dharma powers as it struck at Jiang Tian. That's a supreme-grade true artifact. It's the head of a prehistoric dragon rhinoceros, known as the ancestor rhinoceros head. Rumor has it that a soul formation cultivator died and was obtained by Senior Hushi. He used his blood essence for 10 years to refine it. It's not far from a higher-grade Dao artifact. There's only a fine line separating it. Huang Qianzhong's pupils contracted and his eyes were filled with envy. He sighed and commented leisurely. A supreme-grade true artifact. Many people cried out in surprise. A true artifact was related to the laws of heaven and earth and contained endless truths. Normally, only nascent soul cultivators were able to use it. A Dao artifact was even more advanced. It was made of rare materials and was extremely powerful. Besides, it had to be made according to the laws of heaven and earth and contained the truth of the universe. A Dao artifact was rare and difficult to use. Only soul formation grand cultivators or void return or Dao reunion overlords could use it. A supreme-grade true artifact might not be as powerful as a Dao artifact, but it was also extremely rare and powerful. Its owner's power would be increased by 10 times and it would be able to kill a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator or even severely injure a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator. Meanwhile, In everyone's eyes, Jiang Tian was as tiny as a speck of dust in front of the giant dragon rhinoceros head. He was like a chicken egg in front of a mountain. He was basically throwing an egg against a rock and digging his own grave. That supreme grade true artifact, the ancestor rhinoceros head, was the trump card of the dragon rhinoceros Hu family. Even the elites on the war god roll of the ruins of deity wouldn't dare to face it head-on. They would have to be careful and avoid it. Chapter 1346. Use the heaven-extinguishing sword. This time, it wasn't just Ding Lingdang and Zhang Qianlei who panicked, even Bai Zhe, who was always composed, panicked and warned loudly. Even the ancestral patriarch of the true dragon sect, who knew Jiang Tian's power very well, was worried. Chen Fan had used a supreme-grade true artifact and was a nascent soul heavenly lord. His power had already reached an unimaginable level. The true dragon sect couldn't see through him anymore. In his opinion, Jiang Tian could only hope to break the supreme-grade true artifact with the heaven-extinguishing sword, which was a more advanced deity artifact. Kang Te-Chu won't be able to withstand it this time. While many cultivators of the Jade Lake and the Qi sect were confident and smirked, waiting to see Jiang Tian die. Ha! Is a supreme-grade true artifact that impressive? It's just a piece of scrap metal in my eyes, Kang Te-Chu. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Jiang Tianzong laughed heartily. He didn't use the heaven-extinguishing sword, nor did he dodge. Instead, he sped up instead of slowing down. He turned into a dazzling beam of golden light and crashed toward the rhinoceros head. Watch out! The true dragon sect and Bai Zhe yelled. Ding Lingdang was so scared that she closed her eyes and didn't dare to watch. But what happened next was beyond everyone's imagination. Swish! Jiang Tian sped up and seemed to be able to destroy the dimension and stop time. His body let out a bright aura and the shadow of a Kunpeng appeared. The Kunpeng's shadow became more and more real while Jiang Tian's energy became weaker. The moment Jiang Tian's original body completely disappeared and transformed into the Kunpeng divine body, the Kunpeng divine body suddenly stretched to its limit and turned into a huge light pillar that was as thick as a bucket and seemed to be able to sweep across the world. It directly crashed into the mountain-like head of the dragon rhino. Boom! Under everyone's astonished gaze. The golden light easily pierced through the ancestral dragon rhinoceros's head, and it was as if several dozen nuclear weapons had exploded at the same time. Violent gales howled between the heavens and the earth, and everything was in a state of chaos. Huge mushroom clouds soared into the sky, and violent shock waves collided and tore at each other, causing a second explosion. Down below, the towering peaks and lofty ridges were all shattered, and huge pits with a radius of 1 mile appeared one after another. With these pits as circular circles, huge gullies spread out like spider webs on the red, desolate land. This was a shocking scene. Jiang Tian had broken through a top-grade true artifact, and the red cliffs of the Pill Cliff had turned into dust one after another. Rubble pierced through the sky, and waves of qi swept across the sky for dozens of li. Everything within a radius of 100 li was violently shaking, and even the entire continent was shaking. Hu Shi's body shook violently, and he was sent flying 1,000 meters away. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, and his face twisted with pain. This top-grade true artifact was a life artifact that he had refined with his life essence blood and was closely connected to his nascent soul. Once it was broken, he would immediately suffer a backlash. When Jiang Tian safely passed through the ancestral dragon rhinoceros head and the rolling smoke and reappeared. The area within 100 li was deathly silent, and countless people were dumbfounded. Breaking a top-grade true artifact with one strike? This can't be real, right? Am I seeing things? A top-grade true artifact was broken by his physical body. Breaking a top-grade true artifact with his physical body? This is too terrifying. Crown Prince Huang Qi and Huang Qianzhong were dumbfounded. Even Saint Flame Venerable's mouth was wide open, and he couldn't close it for a long time. Slash! Jiang Tian roared, and for the first time, he made a real move. He raised his palm like a knife and slashed down. Sky splitting. Crack. Dozens of golden rays formed in the sky, and the eerie sword light formed a bright sword curtain, which slashed at Hushi like a hot knife through butter. At this time, Jiang Tian's gung metal divine power was used as the body and the Kunpeng laws were used as the weapon. The gung metal sword aura was already the sharpest thing in the world, and with the Kunpeng laws, its power increased tenfold, which was enough to destroy everything. Not even a nascent soul cultivator could block it. No. Hushi panicked and retreated in the sky. His nascent soul was severely injured and he couldn't resist at all. Cultivator Hushi is injured. Stop him. Ancestral Patriarch Hong Xia and Duanmu Guang looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. Go. Duanmu Guang's robe fluttered in the wind as he floated in the air and formed hand seals with his fingers. Every movement of his seemed to be filled with Tao, as if it was compatible with the laws of heaven and earth. There seemed to be flowers blooming and trees growing in his hand, full of vitality. His 10 fingers opened one by one and formed a strange hand seal, which seemed to contain endless vitality, and pressed towards Jiang Tian. Green heaven and earth essence qi gathered in the sky and formed the rolling wood forbidden zone. Dozens of giant rolling wood forbidden zone were stacked on top of each other and embedded into each other, forming a magnificent dimensional fence. The fence looked tangible, but it wasn't actually a dimensional fence. It formed a dimensional forbidden zone and appeared to be solid. It was thick, heavy, and indestructible, almost like a spatial barrier. It seemed to be able to stop the flood and cut off the meteors. It wanted to stop Jiang Tian and save Hushi. Crack. However, the rolling wood forbidden zone only blocked Jiang Tian's sword aura for a moment before it was broken. Duanmu Guang grunted and flew backwards like a broken doll. The dharma in his hand collapsed and he was terrified to the extreme. The rolling wood forbidden zone that I used was already the limit of my forbidden zone, but it couldn't stop him from waving his hand. How terrifying is Kang Techu's power! No wonder he could kill Ancestral Patriarch Binding Sun. Duanmu Guang had entered the nascent soul realm for a long time. He had mastered the forbidden zone to the point of perfection. Even Emperor Qinqing couldn't break his rolling wood forbidden zone at will. However, it couldn't stop Jiang Tian's gentle palm strike. How could he not be shocked? However, his forbidden zone only lasted for a moment, giving Hushi time to escape and Red Cloud Ancestor's attack. Go! Red Cloud Ancestor's nascent soul screamed. His hair and beard fluttered and his sleeves fluttered. He waved his sleeve. In an instant, the Red Cloud Forbidden Zone was pushed to the limit. Rays of red light shot out like cannonballs and formed many crystal-like rays of red light. They surged like a tide and shot across the sky, heading towards Jiang Tian. Hushi was barely able to survive. After swallowing a pill, he immediately slashed at Jiang Tian more than 10 times. He ran for his life and yelled, "This guy is too strong. Let's return to the Crimson Stone sect and activate the defensive formation." Even though Hushi had swallowed a nascent soul pill with excellent nourishing effects, he still felt very uncomfortable. His nascent soul felt like it was about to shatter. He already understood that the three of them couldn't defeat Jiang Tian. They had to report this to Emperor Qinqing and send all the nascent soul realm cultivators from Jade Lake. No, only Emperor Qinqing would be able to kill Jiang Tian. Run! In fact, Duanmu Guang also felt that his chances of winning were slim. He just didn't want to give up. Now that Hushi was running away, the last support in his Dao heart collapsed. After casting several forbidden zones at Jiang Tian, his body shook and he broke through the space to escape. Red Cloud Ancestor also shouted in panic, "Huang Qianzhong, what are you waiting for? Run! Run!" What? You're all running away. Crown Prince Huang Qi was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. For nascent soul heavenly lords. It was such a powerful lineup that they could destroy everything in their path. They're running away. At this moment, the cultivators of the Crimson Field Jasper Lake were dumbfounded and took a deep breath. The situation had taken a turn for the worse. which was beyond everyone's expectation. The four nascent soul realm cultivators were so arrogant and confident. They claimed that they could kill Jiang Tian as easily as crushing an ant. But the outcome was actually like this. One died, 3 were injured, and they fled in all directions in panic like stray dogs. This was simply like an enormous joke, and no one would believe it if it was told to others. You want to run? Do you think you can escape from me? Jiang Tian smiled calmly. He lazily stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. I'll let you know the true forbidden zone. Crack. The divine disk in Jiang Tian's dantian spun and the galaxy representing the sea-calming ice divine body suddenly shone and rose to the sky. Endless cold and lonely starlight formed a 1,000-foot snow giant behind Jiang Tian. It was covered in white hair and was covered in ice crystals. The snow giant opened its mouth and roared like a tiger. It spat out a white spatial frost mist, and the rolling power of the Dinghai Pearl swept out. Instantly, the frost was thousands of meters long, like a white rainbow. This white ray of light contained extremely terrifying energy of restriction, and it was even more terrifying than the cold winds in the depths of hell. Everywhere it passed, it destroyed all life in its path, causing space to be completely frozen, and it seemed to have become 10 times thicker and heavier than before. Ah! How can this be? Hu Shi and the other 2 nascent soul stage cultivators suddenly felt an extreme binding force, as if they had fallen into an invisible gate that weighed billions of tons. Moreover, this heavy gate filled every inch of space in all directions, making it impossible to dodge or bypass. It was hindering their progress. A forbidden zone. Hu Shi was immediately horrified. This was a true forbidden zone, not a fake forbidden zone. Moreover, it was a forbidden zone of a higher level than theirs. Break! Break! Break for me! After realizing this, Hu Shi burned his nascent soul and boiled his blood. His muscles and bones kept expanding and he immediately grew from a 2-meter brawny man to 100 meters tall. At this time, his dragon scales were glittering and his horns protruded, which was the result of activating his hidden bloodline. It's useless. Jiang Tian placed his hands behind his back, and he approached Meng Chao at a leisurely pace, as if he was taking a stroll in the park. It's too late from the moment I performed the Ice God Forbidden Zone. Break! 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 Hu Shi was terrified. He waved the peerless heavenly blade in the shape of a rhinoceros horn and performed more than 10 forbidden spells. Ah! How can there be such a terrifying forbidden zone in the world? You're just an early-stage golden core cultivator. Even a supreme-grade nascent soul cultivator can't perform such a terrifying forbidden zone. However, amidst his angry and unwilling roar, Hu Shi discovered to his despair that he couldn't break Jiang Tian's Dinghai Pearl forbidden zone at all. Instead, he was panting and spitting out blood. Chapter 1347. Gradually, Hu Shi's movements became slower and slower. Every time he moved, he seemed to be lifting a mountain. He didn't hesitate to burn his nascent soul blood essence, but he was still so tired that his body trembled. His qi and blood were rapidly declining and his hair was turning white at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, he was completely frozen. He couldn't even move his little finger and his nascent soul was dead silent. Return! Jiang Tian shouted as he reached out with his right hand and made a grabbing motion. Whoosh! What made everyone flabbergasted was, Jiang Tian's dantian rumbled again and the divine will spun again. 100-foot black-scaled Taotai jumped out. The black-scaled Taotai was mighty and domineering. It had greedy eyes and its mouth was wide open. Its fangs were as sharp as swords, as if they could swallow the world. Go! Jiang Tian took a step forward, as if he was driving away a fly, and casually waved his hand. The black-scaled Taotai dashed forward and transformed into an extremely deep black vortex with a radius of 1 mile. The black whirlpool was like a black hole in the universe. It seemed to be able to swallow the world and destroy planets. Even the speed of light couldn't escape from it. This black vortex was incomparably thick and deep. It had an unparalleled devouring power that made one feel as if they were about to fall into it and be unable to extricate themselves from it. Even their spirit and mental energy were about to disappear completely. It was as if the life and death of civilizations, the reincarnation of the sun and the moon, the destruction of the void and even the collapse of the universe were all in the whirlpool. When the whirlpool arrived above Hu Shi's head, it swallowed him like a whale swallowing a cow. Amidst the mournful and unwilling screams, Hu Shi was instantly torn into shreds, breaking apart inch by inch. The translucent bones, the indestructible scales, the immense and heavy blood, and even the vigorous nascent soul were all shattered into a mist of blood that rolled out like tides into straight ribbons of light and flowed toward the black swirl. The Taotai returned to its origin, devouring everything. With a single swallow, Hu Shi fell. It's another type of forbidden domain. Oh God! How many laws does he control? How many forbidden realms does he have? This forbidden realm is so terrifying. It can swallow a nascent soul. Everyone cried out in surprise. They were flabbergasted as if they had seen a demon. Since Jiang Tian attacked, he had already displayed at least 4 types of laws. He had derived 4 types of supreme forbidden domains: cut, annihilate, shackle, and devour. Throughout history, every nascent soul cultivator could only control one type of forbidden domain. There were even some with poor talent and perception that couldn't even touch the edge of the laws, unable to control even one type. And yet, Jiang Tian was able to control so many at once. Furthermore, all of Jiang Tian's forbidden realms were far more powerful than normal nascent soul cultivators and comparable to the realms of soul formation cultivators. How could this not be shocking? But this was only the beginning. At this time, Red Cloud Ancestor and Duanmu Guang were also firmly locked in place by Jiang Tian's sea-quelling forbidden zone. They could not break free at all. Even their nascent souls could not move. Qi La. As Jiang Tian pointed his finger, a bloody hole appeared on the forehead of the terrified Red Cloud Old Ancestor. This bloody hole was extremely small, but cracks quickly appeared like broken porcelain. The cracks continued to spread and eventually spread to his entire body. In the end, they gathered in his spirit embryo and broke his nascent soul. A vast amount of essence qi gushed out from the cracks. How can I die under the finger of an ant from Earth? Red Cloud Ancestor's eyes shone with resentment, but in the end, it completely turned into despair. His nascent soul roared as if it wanted to reform his nascent soul and body. Unfortunately, in the end, both his nascent soul and body exploded with a boom. Ancestor is dead. He's dead. When Red Cloud Ancestor died, many cultivators of the Huang family, the Crimson Stone sect and the nobles of the Crimson Light dynasty were dumbfounded. Some of them even cried and fell to the ground, crying loudly. In their eyes, Red Cloud Ancestor was like a god who guarded this world and protected them. He had brought them good fortune for generations to come. Now, he had perished and disappeared. They felt as if their hearts had been pierced by a knife. They could not accept it. Even the ancestor is dead. Absolute beginning dominator, spare my life. Crown Prince Huang Qi was dumbfounded as he shivered. Then, his entire body turned cold and a deep fear coiled around his body like a poisonous snake. He could no longer hold on as he knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. He's dead. What have I done? On the other hand, tears rolled down Huang Qianzhong's cheeks as well, and he seemed to have lost his soul. His footsteps staggered, and he couldn't even stand steadily while a strand of bitter and dense regret surged into his heart, causing him to be unable to wash it away even if he poured all the water in the world into it. From the beginning, he didn't take Jiang Tian seriously. His opponents had always been Bai Zhe, Ding Lai, and the others. Until the news of Jiang Tian killing ancestor Tai Ri came, he also thought that Jiang Tian had only won by using tricks. Now, he understood that he had underestimated Jiang Tian too much. Jiang Tian's strength had reached an unimaginable height. If he had been more cautious at the beginning, not to mention fighting side by side with Jiang Tian and the stellar sky domain, he wouldn't have met with such an ending. He might even have the chance to become Jiang Tian's friend. Explode. Let's perish together. Seeing his two fellow Taoists fall one after another without any resistance, Duanmu Guang fought back even more crazily. Swish. His eyes flashed with a cold and fierce light, and his face was filled with endless determination. His nascent soul released an endless green aura like a green jade crystal that was expanding. A force 100 times stronger than the golden core was completely awakened at this moment. Not good. He's going to explode his nascent soul. Bai Zhe was shocked. Let's go. Patriarch Zhenlong was also furious. He waved his sleeves and retreated hundreds of miles away with Ding Lingdang and the others. The nascent soul was the result of a cultivator breaking the core to form the nascent soul. It could resonate with the laws. A nascent soul heavenly lord could replace the heavenly heart with his heart. With a thought, he could freeze everything within 100 miles and destroy everything within 10 miles with one attack. Once the nascent soul exploded, its power would be extremely terrifying and unimaginable. It would be more powerful than dozens of standard nuclear weapons and was comparable to an attack from a soul formation cultivator. Even a forbidden realm created by a nascent soul cultivator would be destroyed. Kang Te-Chu, you killed my son and pushed me too far. Today, I'm going to perish with you. You brought all of this upon yourself. Go to hell. That green nascent soul was only about an inch long, as if it had been carved out of jade. It glared at Jiang Tian with resentment and roared furiously. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Boom! The nascent soul suddenly exploded, and an unparalleled destructive force spread out in all directions. The space was shattered into chaos, and an extremely ear-piercing cracking sound was heard. Cracks actually appeared on the forbidden area that Jiang Tian had created. My dear children and grandchildren of the Duanmu family, you should be smiling if you know about this. Ancestral Patriarch has exploded his nascent soul to avenge you. An elder of the Duanmu family in the crowd said with tears in his eyes. It was rare and tragic to explode a nascent soul to kill an enemy. It was a method that would cause both sides to suffer. Even if a cultivator didn't die after exploding his nascent soul, his power would drop to the bottom and he would be no different from a normal person without any power. Meanwhile, Duanmu Guang's situation was even more special. He had already been trapped by Jiang Tian's forbidden realm and there was no way he could escape. He would definitely die. Kang Te-Chu is too powerful. He killed 3 nascent soul cultivators and forced one to explode himself. At this moment, many people were stunned. But Kang Te-Chu is too young and he's too arrogant. Doesn't he know that we shouldn't chase after a cornered enemy? But Prince Huangqi said with hatred. Right, even a rabbit will bite when it's cornered. Besides, he's a nascent soul heavenly lord. The explosion of a nascent soul is as powerful as an attack from a soul formation cultivator. This time, Kang Te-Chu will be severely injured even if he doesn't die. Overlord Xinhua and some other overlords shook their heads and sneered. Many people thought that Jiang Tian didn't know when to back down. He had already won, so it was best to stop while he was ahead. Why did he have to be so aggressive and make both sides suffer? In a flash, Duanmu Guang's green nascent soul exploded above Nuanyu blessed land. In a blink, streams of green nascent soul essence flashed across the sky like missiles, creating a 1-mile-long turbulence. They tore the dimension apart and swept towards Jiang Tian. At this moment, Nuanyu blessed land was severely affected. The palaces and magnificent pavilions, which were engraved with countless rune arrays and made with heavenly treasures and could withstand the attacks of golden core cultivators and nuclear weapons centers, were torn apart like pieces of paper and turned into dust. After a few flicks of the fingers, the entire warm jade blessed land disappeared. It was forcibly erased. How ruthless! You're willing to detonate your nascent soul to kill me. I admire you. In the void, The long robe was pulled straight back by the violent energy waves, but Jiang Tian was like a spring breeze, with his hands behind his back. His face was as calm as still water, as he let out a long sigh, and even had a hint of admiration in his eyes. Jiang Tian wasn't mocking him, but actually complimenting him. Duanmu Guang was much more decisive than the other 3 nascent soul cultivators. He knew he couldn't escape death, so he fought with Jiang Tian. As far as Jiang Tian was concerned, being so resolute and cutting off all means of retreat was the true nature of a cultivator. What a shame! Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. Your 2 fellow cultivators were not as resolute as you. Otherwise, it would have been quite a mess if you detonated your nascent souls at the same time. What? After hearing what Jiang Tian said and seeing how calm Jiang Tian was, Duanmu Guang was startled and an unbelievable thought came to his mind. Could it be that he could withstand the explosion of his nascent soul? Then, he saw something horrified. The green wood elemental nascent soul essence became slower and slower after it was pushed 3 miles away. In the end, it floated in the air like green smoke. At that moment, Jiang Tian had already activated the Forbidden Zone with the Dinghai Pearl's golden core to control Duanmu Guang. The Dinghai Pearl's Forbidden Zone was extremely sturdy. Duanmu Guang had already used up most of his Dharma power by exploding his nascent soul. He was already at the end of his rope when he reached Jiang Tian. Duanmu Guang and the others had never realized that Jiang Tian had formed a golden core that controlled 9 types of laws and formed 9 forbidden zones. Not even 9 nascent soul heavenly lords would be a match for him. They had seriously underestimated Jiang Tian's strength from the beginning to the end. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Jiang Tian raised his hand and gently tapped the green, misty nascent soul essence blood. The essence of a wood elemental nascent soul. Not bad. So, I won't leave it for you. Tao Tai returns. That heart-palpitating black vortex had once again appeared in the world. Chapter 1348. It floated in front of Jiang Tian's Dantian, like the biggest and most terrifying black hole in the universe. It seemed to be able to break all laws and swallow all worlds. The vast energy of the azure nascent souls suddenly moved again. However, it didn't attack Jiang Tian. Instead, it went into the black vortex like a swallow returning to the forest. In just a few seconds, the essence of the nascent souls had been completely swallowed by the black vortex. Not even a drop was left. Kang Te Chu, this isn't the end. The Jade Lake world won't let you go. In the end, even Duanmu Guang's many protective true treasures and powerful body were torn apart amidst his despairing screams. They turned into surging essence chi that surged towards the black vortex. Boom! Only after Jiang Tian absorbed all of the blood essence of the 4 nascent soul cultivators and cancelled his forbidden realm divine power did a thunderous rumble resound through the void. Billowing airwaves instantly spread hundreds of miles away, and even thousands of miles away, reaching an unfathomable distance. Before this, most of the energy had been sealed by Jiang Tian's forbidden domain. Now that Jiang Tian had put away the forbidden domain, the remaining energy had started to ripple out, and the remaining energy had completely erupted. At this moment, the entire Scarlet Field world, which was thousands of kilometers in radius, was trembling. Heaven and earth were in chaos, and the mountains and rivers were displaced. Rocks of all sizes jumped up high, as if there was an earth-shattering earthquake. The dimensional barriers were glittering, twisting and stretching, making the stars in the sky blur, as if they were about to collapse. Who's causing such an earth-shattering battle? The power of a single strike is so terrifying. Could it be that His Majesty the Azure Emperor has descended? No, I heard that the Lord of Star World is here. Terrifying. At this instant, no matter if it was cultivators, demon beasts, or commoners, the myriad of living beings felt Jiang Tian's monstrous divine might, and they were terrified to the point of trembling as they prostrated themselves on the ground and prostrated themselves in worship. Terrifying. Extremely terrifying. This time, when they faced Jiang Tian's peerless divine ability and might, all of them felt as if they'd fallen into an ice cellar. Their entire bodies couldn't help but tremble, and they were unable to arouse the slightest desire to resist. Before this, it was rumored that Jiang Tian had killed Patriarch Tai Ri and Qinliuhe. Everyone could say that Jiang Tian had used tricks or sneak attacks to win. At this moment, they were certain that Jiang Tian had crushed them in strength from beginning to end. Especially when Duanmu Guang did not hesitate to detonate his nascent soul in order to take Jiang Tian down with him. However, Jiang Tian easily neutralized the attack and even devoured his nascent soul. This made everyone's hair stand on end. Originally, a core formation cultivator couldn't challenge a nascent soul cultivator. This had never happened in the Jade Pool or the Crimson Wild World since ancient times. Jiang Tian had slain 4 nascent soul stage cultivators in a row, which had broken the understanding of all cultivators. Besides, Duanmu Guang had detonated his nascent soul in the end, which was comparable to an attack from a soul formation grand cultivator, but he still couldn't defeat him. Didn't that mean that Kang Taechu had the strength to face a soul formation grand cultivator? Just how strong was Jiang Tian? Everyone felt that they could not see through him. He was less than 50 years old and came from a remote place like Earth, but he was able to fight with a soul formation cultivator. This was simply unbelievable. Clatter, clatter, clatter. A golden core cultivator killed a nascent soul stage cultivator. How could there be such a monstrous freak in the Earth realm? Crown Prince Huang Qi's teeth chattered and he murmured with a broken voice. He was extremely talented and was able to form a golden core at such a young age. He was at least much more powerful than Li Longyuan, the master of the Starry Sky Palace back then. But at this moment, compared to Jiang Tian, he felt that he couldn't be more trashy. There was no comparison at all, he wasn't even worthy of carrying Jiang Tian's shoes. Even a superior grade golden core cultivator can't do that. The difference between a nascent soul cultivator and a golden core cultivator is like heaven and earth. It's even possible that he's already reached the nascent soul level, but he suppressed his power before. A sect master on the Qi sect guessed with a trembling voice. But he only has the resources of earth. How can he reach the nascent soul level? Even the Qi world hasn't had a second nascent soul cultivator in thousands of years, apart from ancestral patriarch Hong Xia. An old woman next to him said with a hoarse voice. She couldn't accept it. No matter what. If he can kill a nascent soul cultivator, killing golden core cultivators and foundation establishment cultivators like us will be a piece of cake. I think we should hurry up and show our goodwill, or we'll be in trouble. Another sect master said with a trembling voice. At this moment, no matter if it was Qi Yi or the cultivators of the Jade Lake, all of them were shocked. They were like clay statues, unable to move. He can even swallow the explosion of a nascent soul cultivator. What else can't he swallow? Even ancestral patriarch True Dragon was deeply shocked. He had spent many days with Jiang Tian, so he knew how heaven-defying Jiang Tian's golden core was. However, he didn't expect it to be this heaven-defying. Even in the entire ruins of immortality, there probably wasn't such a terrifying golden core. This move of the Taichu Dominator is enough to conquer the universe. Bai Zai's eyes shone with a bright light that he had never seen before. He was extremely excited, and at the same time, he stared at the black vortex in Jiang Tian's hand, not letting go of a single detail as he secretly comprehended it. Ah, he's so powerful now. How many resources does he have? The corners of Zhang Qianlei's mouth twitched, and his eyes were opened wide with disbelief. At this moment, he was extremely regretful. He shouldn't have left Jiang Tian and come to this world alone just to surpass Jiang Tian. If he had followed Jiang Tian, he would have been a golden core cultivator. Run! One of the Jade Lake's special envoys finally reacted. Without saying a word, he turned into a shooting star and flew into the distance, leaving behind a long and blurry green afterimage. This person was a golden core cultivator and was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he had flown dozens of miles away. The others looked at each other. Some of them were eager to try, while others directly flew into the sky. Kang Taechu was too terrifying. Not only was he powerful, but he was also ferocious. If they stayed, they would be cruelly punished. Don't move, Jiang Tian said and flicked his finger at the Jade Lake cultivator who had flown 100 miles away. Bang! There was a muffled sound. The golden core of the Jade Lake envoy exploded and his body shattered, turning into a rain of flesh and broken bones that fell to the ground. Who dares to run? You will die, Jiang Tian said calmly, but there was a great majesty in his voice. At this time, his vast Dharma power had completely enveloped an area of dozens of miles, making the earth rumble and the void tremble as if an ancient god had descended. This. At this moment, countless cultivators within 100 miles lowered their heads and trembled when they felt Jiang Tian's terrifying aura. They didn't dare to look at Jiang Tian and gave up the idea of running away. We will wait for the punishment of the absolute beginning dominator. We are willing to submit to the absolute beginning dominator and protect the stellar sky domain and the earth domain. We will do anything for you. We were forced by Huang Qianzhong and the Jade Lake cultivators. The cultivators knelt in the air and were extremely uneasy. Jiang Tian's Kunpeng was too fast. If the finger radiance or the flying sword were strengthened by the Kunpeng, it would be 10 times faster. Even if you ran for 10 minutes, you still wouldn't be able to escape. At this time, the smoke and clouds had disappeared. The starry sky was bright and the barren red land was silent. Jiang Tian stood in the void with his hands behind his back. His white robe was bathed in the starry light and was not stained by a speck of dust or damage. Obviously, he still had some energy left to fight against the 4 nascent soul cultivators. In addition, many cultivators were prostrating themselves in worship. The area within 100 miles was extremely quiet. Ding Lingdang's beautiful eyes bloomed as she looked up at Jiang Tian. She felt that Jiang Tian was like an ancient divine king that had descended to the mortal world. He was high and mighty. No one could stop him and no one dared to challenge his majesty. Venerable Shenhua, the Imperial Thunder sect has been friends with the Stellar Sky Domain and the Earth Domain for generations. But you killed the old sect master, Tang Yuan, with one sword. Now, I want to kill you to avenge Tang Yuan. What do you have to say? For a long time, in the heart-palpitating silence, Jiang Tian put his left hand behind his back and took out the green jade wine pot with his right hand. He took a sip of the thunderfire wine with a calm and relaxed expression. There was even a hint of mockery on his face. Kang Te Chu, don't you dare be so arrogant. There are 7 heavenly lord families and sects above the Jade Lake. There are less than 10 nascent soul heavenly lords and the Azure the Arch is even more powerful. You've only killed 4 nascent soul heavenly lords so far. If the Jade Lake goes crazy and seeks revenge, you won't be able to live. Venerable Shenhua was already trembling in fear, but he had to give it a try in the face of death. He shouted, as long as you don't kill me, I'll help you mediate. We can shake hands and make peace, mediate. Jiang Tian shook his head and smiled mockingly. I killed Emperor Qinqing's son, woman and right-hand men. This is a life and death feud. You can't mediate at all. It all depends on the person. Venerable Shenhua opened his mouth and wanted to say something. However, Jiang Tian's eyes were indifferent as he interrupted. In fact, I don't want you to help me mediate. I don't want to make peace with Emperor Qinqing. Otherwise, I wouldn't have killed them. You don't have to worry about whether I fight or make peace with Emperor Qinqing. Anyway, I'm going to kill you. As he spoke, Jiang Tian mercilessly slapped down with his palm. Chapter 1349. Boom! A 1-mile-long golden palm came crashing down from the sky towards sacred flame supremacy as if it was covering the sky. Kang Te Chu, you. Heavenly Fire 9 Sons. Reverend Holy Flame's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets as he howled in fear. His dantian rumbled and trembled as an endless amount of fire elemental Zhen Yuan gushed out from his gold core. 9 blazing red suns appeared behind his back, blazing with raging flames that illuminated the entire sky. These grand sun dharma images were created by him risking his life to rush out of the dimensional barrier and into the deep void to collect a kind of eternal star fire called 9 suns blazing fire, which he refined with his own blood essence for 100 years. The fire of 9 suns was ranked 12th among the heavenly fire in the cultivation world and was much more powerful than the red lotus earth fire in Fire Beacon City. But then, under Jiang Tian's hand, the 9 suns exploded. The 9 blazing suns exploded like fireworks. The scattered flames burned holes in the earth and cracked the mountain rocks. Then, how is that possible? It's a metal elemental divine power, but it's not afraid of the heavenly fire 9 suns. Amid his miserable and despairing cries, venerable holy fire was forcefully crushed by the palm strike. Even his gold core had cracked and collapsed, and it was devoured by Jiang Tian's Taotai into the divine disk. The entire place went silent. Everyone's hearts were pounding and their bodies trembled. What Jiang Tian was using was the simplest essence condensation weapon, which was on the same level as the wind blades. He didn't even activate his golden core. He was only using the means and dharma formulations of foundation establishment cultivators. It was simple and crude. But in Jiang Tian's hands, it exploded with unparalleled destructive power. With a simple slap, he killed a nascent soul cultivator who was in control of a mystical flame. This was simply like the biggest joke in the world. No one would dare to believe it even if it was told. It could be seen how terrifying Jiang Taichu's strength was. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Then, Jiang Tian flicked his fingers expressionlessly. His golden finger aura pierced through the sky. Amidst the wails of despair and begging for mercy, a bloody mist bloomed in the air like flowers. White brain matter and broken bones flew everywhere and landed on the crimson-red ground. It was a ghastly sight. In a blink, all the envoys of the Jade Lake, including the Golden Core cultivators and the Foundation Establishment cultivators, were killed. There was a bone-chilling silence. Only the sound of the wind was heard. No one dared to say a word. They seemed to be able to hear each other's heavy breathing and heartbeats. Only Zhang Qianlei knelt down in the direction of the thunder-controlling sect and solemnly kowtowed 3 times and 9 times. Senior Tang Yuan, did you see that? Cultivator Tai Chu has avenged you. You didn't shed your blood for earth in vain. You didn't die for nothing. Alas, if Jiang Taichu had come earlier, we wouldn't have had to endure humiliation and become slaves. Lei Sen and Shinjiu Ling also sighed deeply. Their faces were full of shame as they knelt behind Zhang Qianlei and kowtowed. Huang Qianzhong, Jiang Tian's gaze suddenly landed on the ashen-faced Huang Qianzhong and said calmly, "You betrayed us and destroyed the peace agreement between the 2 worlds. You colluded with the cultivators of the Jade Lake and set me up. Now, you have to give me an explanation." Hearing that, Huang Qianzhong's body trembled and his pale face became even paler. His body, which used to be majestic, had become hunched. He lowered his arrogant head and said bitterly, "I'm sorry." "Fine, fine. Who would have thought that I, Huang Qianzhong, had always thought that my foresight was unique, but this time, I was wrong." He actually offended a true god. When Crown Prince Huangqi and the others heard this, they all revealed sorrowful expressions and their bodies trembled slightly. Jiang Tian was able to withstand the explosion of a nascent soul cultivator, which meant that he could withstand the attack of a soul formation cultivator. Once a cultivator reached the soul formation level, his primordial spirit would be placed in the void and he would be immortal. He would abandon the low-level spirit stones and spirit herbs and absorb the energy of the universe. He would be a god in the human world and a divine entity. He was also called a heavenly master, deity, or divine master. At this moment, he called Jiang Tian a real entity. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that Jiang Tian was a real entity, in terms of strength. "My friend Tai Chu, the Huang family is willing to admit defeat. I, Huang Qianzhong, deserve to die. I only hope that Senior Tai Chu can leave some descendants of the Huang family for the sake of the old man who did shelter the refugees of the planet Tianqing." Huang Qianzhong bowed deeply, his body trembling as he begged sincerely, "Please forgive me. Besides, the alliance with the Jade Lake has nothing to do with the leaders of the other sects and cities. My friend Tai Chu, please let them live. Father. Prince Huang Qi and the others were sad, but they didn't dare to speak loudly. Huang Qianzhong didn't care about them. Since he rose to power, he had swept away the strong and killed countless people. His hands were stained with blood, and he walked to the top by stepping on piles of bones. Among the people he killed, there were even his own brothers and sisters. He knew that the cultivation world was cruel and ruthless. From the day he stepped on the path of cultivation, he was prepared to die an unnatural death. However, he did not expect that this day would come so quickly and that he would fail so miserably. Huang Qianzhong's eyes were filled with despair as he gently sighed. He took out a scarlet seal from his interspatial ring and offered it to Huang Qianzhong with both hands. This is the imperial seal of the Qie world. Since the beginning of interstellar wandering, it represents the highest power in this world. No cultivator or mortal dares to disobey it. Now, I give it to the Tai Chu Dominator. From now on, this world belongs to the Tai Chu Dominator. Looking at the big seal, everyone's hearts jumped. In fact, this seal was not only the symbol of the highest power, but also the array pestle that activated the gravity simulation, teleportation, spirit gathering, killing, and many other arrays of the Qie world. Controlling the formation pestle in the shape of a large seal was equivalent to controlling the entire world. Life and death were in one's hands, and no one dared to rebel. Not enough. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian shook his head. Tai Chu's sect master, do you want to destroy the Qie world? Huang Qianzhong seemed to have expected this. He wasn't surprised, but his expression seemed to have deteriorated. I, Kang Tai Chu, may kill freely, but I don't kill the innocent. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Star World once helped the Crimson Stone sect and the Huang family, but the Huang family betrayed them. Therefore, I won't leave a single one of your Huang family alive. As he spoke, Jiang Tian suddenly took out Absolute Heaven's sword and swung it. Crack! It was as though a huge bolt of lightning had struck the void. Huang Qianzhong, Crown Prince Huang Qi, and the many descendants of the Huang family were all killed. Their bodies were all cut to pieces. All the golden cores were taken back by Jiang Tian. After today, the Huang family and even the Crimson Stone sect that had dominated this world for 1,000 years would be completely removed from the Qie world. Huang Qianzhong's body was broken, but he was a golden core expert after all. He was still alive. It's over. The Huang family is finished in my hands. I'm a sinner. Seeing this, his face was filled with despair and pain. His body trembled, and hot tears rolled down his face. Huang Qianzhong, it's not like you said, that only the Huang family is my enemy. In fact, at least half of the sects in this world have joined the Jade Lake world and tried to encroach on my territory. I only killed the main culprits like their sect masters as punishment. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Then, he smashed Huang Qianzhong into dust, and even his spirit was destroyed. Soaring Feather Sect, Blue Moon Sect, Desolate Wood Sect, Iron Fist Sect, Zhang Qianlei, Lei Sen, and Shinjuling named 7 or 8 sects and important people in a row. They all had no integrity and joined the Jade Lake world without a fight. Tai Chu's sect master, please spare us, we were forced to do this. Tai Chu's sect master, we didn't want to be your enemy. These sect masters were all well-known figures in this world. They were powerful and powerful. If they stomped their feet, the entire Qi world would tremble. But at this moment, under Jiang Tian's peerless ferocious might and the threat of death, all of them knelt down successively and kowtowed like they were pounding garlic. Some of them even had their true essence become unstable and pissed their pants in terror. At this moment, their hearts were filled with regret. They all thought that the Jade Lake could destroy the Stellar Sky domain as easily as cutting vegetables. After all, the Jade Lake was the most powerful third-grade world with nascent soul realm cultivators. They never thought that Jiang Tian was so powerful that they would end up in such a miserable state. These small fries couldn't even withstand a single blow. Jiang Tian didn't even need to do anything. Die. Under Jiang Tian's gaze, Bai Zhe rushed up and unleashed his terrifying Dharma idol. With a punch and a kick, he smashed them into dust. Blood dyed the ground red. Corpses and bones were strewn everywhere. Blood chi surged into the sky like smoke. The smell of blood was pungent. At this moment, all the Qi cultivators were pale. They were trembling in fear as if they had lost their parents. They knelt on the ground obediently and lowered their arrogant heads. They didn't even dare to look at Jiang Tian. He didn't know when a calamity would befall him and he would die an unnatural death. Chapter 1350. Jiang Tian floated to the ground with his hands behind his back and said slowly, "I'm sorry." He slowly said, "I came here to guard Heavenly Star Realm and establish a divine soul contract with all of you. Together, we will resist the tyranny of the ruins of immortality and Jade Lake. Perhaps in your eyes, the ruins of immortality and Jade Lake are powerful and unshakable. But today, you have all seen that although I, Kang Te Chu, only have a golden core cultivation, I can kill nascent soul cultivators with ease. What fellow Taoist Absolute Beginning says is true." Everyone nodded, sincerely convinced. If Jiang Tian had said this before, he would have been met with endless ridicule from the Red Wild World. Many cultivators would have scoffed at him. "You think we can establish a divine soul contract just because you say so? You think we can resist the ruins of immortality just because you say so? Based on what? What qualifications do you have?" But now, things were different. Jiang Tian had already killed 4 nascent soul old ancestors. In particular, when he detonated Duanmu Guang's nascent soul, he revealed a strength comparable to an Empyrean at divine transformation. This caused everyone to believe that Jiang Tian had the strength to contend with the Jade Lake world. "Of course, as long as you sign a divine soul contract with me, you will be my disciples. I will not treat you badly. I will pass on your transcendent cultivation methods and supernatural abilities, and even control sealing techniques, forbidden domains, and other space techniques. These will be your capital to resist the Jade Lake world." As Jiang Tian spoke, many cultivators began to stir. After all, Jiang Tian had reached the peak at such a young age. The supernatural abilities, cultivation methods, alchemy techniques, array formations, and so on, he could be said to be heaven-shaking and earth-shattering. There were even true immortal cultivation methods. In fact, this was true. Jiang Tian's Wizard and True Dragon were not to be trifled with. If they followed Jiang Tian, even if they could only learn bits and pieces, it would be enough for them to reach heights they couldn't even imagine before. Moreover, the remaining cultivators had no enmity with Jiang Tian. If they took this opportunity to submit to Jiang Tian, it could be said to be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Absolute Beginning Ruler wants to teach us the art of controlling space origin energy. Suddenly, Lei Sun reacted and exclaimed. To a cultivator, the most difficult thing to cultivate was not Dharma form, divine ability, Qi weapon, or the 5 elements divine ability. Instead, it was the ability to manipulate the vital Qi of heaven and earth and use it to control space. The outstanding cultivators of the Golden Core stage could restrict and seal, which was known as control. The nascent soul stage was a forbidden area, and the divinity stage was a stronger and more advanced area. Not to mention the forbidden domain and the domain, just the simplest control and suppression. Once it is formed, the natural energy within a radius of 1,000 feet will be at my disposal, and I will be able to seal and suppress the enemy into an iron plate. Even if you had thousands of divine abilities and secret techniques, you wouldn't be able to use them. You would be like a fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Of course, in reality, control, restriction, sealing, and even forbidden regions couldn't be considered to have truly grasped the space laws. Instead, they borrowed the heaven and earth yuan qi to mobilize the power of space, and what they formed could only be considered a pseudo-domain. However, this was already an invincible and heaven-defying method to defeat the enemy. Not to mention the qi yi, even in the Jade Pool, Dragon Gate, and other level 3 worlds, it had always been a top-notch cultivation method. It was a secret that was never passed on. Jiang Tian actually said that he was going to teach them these things. How could they not be shocked? That's right. As long as you're willing to pledge allegiance to me and fight side by side against the invaders of the Jade Pool deity ruins, what's the point of teaching you these things? Jiang Tian said calmly. The art of controlling the heaven and earth Yuan Qi was a supreme secret technique for them, just like a divine art. However, Jiang Tian knew at least 800, if not 1,000. For Jiang Tian, it was just the most basic of the basics. So what if Jiang Tian taught them some shallow and low-level cultivation methods? This time, the leaders of the various sects were astounded. Even Shinjiu, who had always been afraid of the Jade Pool, was ecstatic. His blood was boiling as he said excitedly, "Good, good, good. With the help of such a divine art, we really don't need to be afraid of the Jade Pool." Yeah, who says we're inferior to the Jade Pool? As long as we cultivate diligently, we might be able to fight against them. The Taichu Dominator is so generous. No wonder the cultivators of planet Heavenly Star follow him everywhere. That's right, we'd rather die than become slaves of a conquered country. Many cultivators were overjoyed, and their spirits were lifted. After the battle in the warm jade-blessed land, Jiang Tian had made a divine soul contract with everyone, and sent them a few kinds of earth and fire element techniques. After that, he had ordered everyone to leave. However, the impact of this battle had just started to spread out. For 1,000 years, this world belonged to the Crimson Stone sect and the Huang family. The Huang family had been in this world for 1,000 years. They had deep roots and connections in all directions. The top 10 sects all had deep relationships with him and listened to his orders. Needless to say, there was also the massive Crimson Radiance Empire, numerous mundane cities, and cultivation clans. It could be said to be massive and complicated to the extreme. When the news spread, the entire Crimson Field was shocked. Many people couldn't believe it, as if the sky had collapsed. After all, those who watched the battle in warm jade-blessed land were the leaders and elites of the major sections. However, many cultivators and even the entire mortal world didn't go to watch. When they heard the news, many people were completely shocked. Emperor Qianzhong is dead? How is that possible? Nothing is impossible. My master saw it with his own eyes. Even Red Cloud Ancestor and Crown Prince Huang Qi were killed by Kang Taichu. The entire bloodline of the Huang family will be annihilated. Red Cloud Ancestor, that's a nascent soul ancestor. I don't care if you believe it or not. I don't believe it. That's right. The Red Cloud Ancestor was undefeated in 10,000 battles. He was a high and mighty existence. He was like a living immortal. How could anyone kill him? I don't believe it either. Many people couldn't accept it when they heard it at first. They didn't believe it at all. In the past, Huang Qianzhong and Red Cloud Ancestor were like gods in their hearts. But now, they died in the hands of an ant from Earth. It was like a joke. There were even old cultivators who shouted angrily, saying that the person who sent the news had evil intentions and wanted to overthrow the order and create internal strife. I'll kill him. But then, more and more witnesses sent news. There were even sect masters of major sects who watched the battle that night who testified. When all of this was confirmed, everyone was stunned. Everyone was dumbstruck, as if they were grieving for their parents. A golden core cultivator killing a nascent soul cultivator. Has there ever been such a precedent in the past? In that case, from now on, won't the Earth domain and the stellar sky domain be riding on our heads and doing whatever they want? Countless people beat their chests and stomped their feet. How can the stellar sky field invade us? I don't believe it. I'm going to take revenge on that emperor killer. But then, the details of the death of Shen Jingjing, Hu Shi and Duanmu Guang, the 3 heavenly lords from the Jade Lake, were also spread. In an instant, everyone shut their mouths and gave up on the topic. Even Emperor Qinqing isn't that powerful. I heard that when he had just reached the golden core level, he had challenged a nascent soul cultivator in his family, but it was a draw. Does this mean that Kang Taechu is more talented than Emperor Qinqing? Monster! Monster! Many people gasped. The Heavenly Lord of the Jade Lake. A Heavenly Lord could control the world and create a forbidden region. The more powerful one's cultivation was, the more he understood the power of the world and what the Heavenly Lord meant. A Heavenly Lord could replace the Heavenly Lord with his own heart and enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. He could lift up the sky with one hand. Moreover, there were 3 heaven monarchs from the Jade Lake, but they were all killed by Jiang Taichu. If he wasn't a monster, then what was? Then, the absolute beginning ruler gave the Imperial Thunder sect a set of the 5-element thunder punishment art. Without the need to use the thunder strike stone, it can create lightning in the void and kill opponents of a higher level. It is invincible and can be called an immortal cultivation art. We are grateful for the absolute beginning's kindness. The acting sect master of the Imperial Thunder sect, Lei Sun, announced. The Desolate Wood sect was given a set of wood element cultivation art by the absolute beginning ruler. It is a nascent soul cultivation art. The disciples of the Desolate Wood sect will always be loyal to the absolute beginning ruler and will never betray him. The new sect master of the Desolate Wood sect also announced. My Flying Feather sect also supports the Grand Primordium Dominator. The Grand Primordium Dominator is our savior. Whoever dares to betray the Grand Primordium Dominator is an ungrateful person. Go through my Flying Feather sect first, and I'll be the first to not spare him. Then, the Flying Feather sect, the Iron Fist sect, the Tsangyue sect and other large and small sects also announced their support for Jiang Tian. All the sect masters showed their support and immediately became Jiang Tian's loyal soldiers. The situation changed without them noticing. Jiang Tian went from being an invader and a king-killer to being the liberator and savior of the Qiyi world. Especially when they heard that Jiang Tian was handsome and young, many female cultivators wanted to go to the Imperial Thunder sect to ask if Jiang Tian had a partner and if they had the chance to dual cultivate with the absolute beginning ruler. This was Jiang Tian's temperament that had been tempered for tens of thousands of years. The key to the way to control one's subordinates was to use the carrot and stick at the same time. Only by giving them a slap and then a carrot and stick would they be loyal and devoted. Only a soul contract was not enough. The absolute beginning ruler has returned, killed Chenryoha, and wiped out the Jade Lake army. The stellar sky domain has been liberated. Everyone can go back. When the big black dog ascended to the sky and announced the news, the stellar sky domain, the Heavenly Star refugee camp, which had a radius of 10 miles, was deathly silent for a full minute. Then, as if a block of ice had been thrown into a pot of hot oil, it began to boil and burst into jubilation. What did I just hear? The absolute beginning ruler has returned, and defeated the Jade Lake army. Liberated. The stellar sky domain has been liberated. We can go home. Child, the Jade Lake army has been defeated, and Chenryoha is dead. The absolute beginning sect master has avenged you. Many stellar sky refugees couldn't believe it at first, but when they came back to their senses, they cried tears of joy and excitement. They cried and laughed, hugged each other, and sang and danced. We thank the absolute beginning ruler for stopping the fall of the heavens and saving the people from the fire and water. Some white-haired old cultivators trembled in the direction of the warm jade-blessed land where Jiang Tian was and kowtowed. They didn't care if Jiang Tian could see them or not. They all kowtowed crazily. We thank the absolute beginning ruler. Then, all the stellar sky living beings knelt down. Whether they were mortals, cultivators, demons, or humans, they all prostrated themselves on the ground and kowtowed heavily. Their faces were full of reverence and gratitude. Chapter 1351. This was truly an unexpected surprise. They didn't even dare to think about it. Because the Jade Lake world was too strong. In their opinion, they couldn't shake it at all and would never be able to take back Star World. They thought that they could only be refugees and die silently in a foreign world without any dignity, never to return to their homeland. But now, Jiang Tian had returned and destroyed the Jade Lake's army as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. He had destroyed everything and helped them take back their ancestral land. Why weren't they grateful and overjoyed? Brother Black, have a bite. Zhao Quan nodded and bowed beside the big black dog. He handed over a sizzling pig dragon thigh and asked with a face full of fear, "He is Kong Te Chu, yes, it's the real deal." The big black dog ate the pig dragon meat and ordered the Crimson Field cultivators to open the teleportation formation and send these refugees back. Damn, I actually scolded him. I brushed shoulders with the Grim Reaper. Zhao Quan was so scared his legs went soft. He couldn't control the urge to pee and said in a daze. At this time, Jiang Tian was dealing with the vast cultivation resources of the Huang family and the Crimson Stone sect. The Huang family had dominated this world for hundreds of years, especially when the Crimson Stone sect was conquering the world. They had once swept through dozens of sects, burning, killing, and looting. They had obtained countless cultivation resources such as spirit herbs, spirit medicines, spirit stones, cultivation methods, and so on. As for the famous mountains, great rivers, spirit veins, and spirit springs, they were all imperial land. But now, they had all become Jiang Tian's private property. He could take and use them as he pleased. I've long felt that the Red Cloud ancestors' level of formations wasn't enough to attract the aura of the earth from hundreds of kilometers away. It turns out that there is a huge spirit vein hidden underground in warm jade-blessed land that stretches for hundreds of kilometers. Jiang Tian stood above the ruins of warm jade-blessed land with his hands behind his back. He looked like he was taking a stroll, his divine sense sweeping back and forth as he smiled faintly. Beside him, Ding Ling Dang, Bai Zhe, Zhang Qianlei, the true dragon ancestor, and the big black dog were accompanying him. Slow down. These are the treasures that the absolute beginning dominator wants. If anything goes wrong, I'll break your legs. Lei Sen and Shen Jiuling ordered many Qi cultivators to move the cultivation resources of the Huang family over. Lei Sen had abused Zhang Qianlei in every possible way. According to Zhang Qianlei's opinion, Lei Sen should be skinned alive. However, although Zhang Qianlei had a fiery temper, he still cared about the big picture. The Imperial Thunder sect had many things to do, and was in dire need of manpower. Zhang Qianlei carried out Sect Master Tang's last wish to revive the sect. He did not kill him and let him live. Now, facing Zhang Qianlei, Lei Sen Shenjiuling was like a pug that had seen its master. He nodded and bowed to Zhang Qianlei and followed his orders. He was very useful and had become Zhang Qianlei's right-hand man. Influence and power were good things. Jiang Tian had already become the ruler of this world. With a single command, he possessed the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Many sects and cities did not even have time to curry favor with him. They all took action, afraid that if they were slow, they would offend Jiang Tian. In just a few days, the dilapidated fences and dilapidated walls within a radius of 100 miles had long been cleared away, and a magnificent palace had been built. These palaces were magnificent and inlaid with gold and jade. Many gems and crystals were used in large quantities as glazed tiles and bricks. In addition, there were rockery and strange stones carved with large pieces of spirit stones. They were cleverly arranged into a spirit-gathering array, releasing thousands of rays of light and thousands of auspicious colors. It was simply like a paradise on earth. In terms of luxury, the royal gardens of any country on earth were like thatched houses compared to it. In fact, Jiang Tian did not like this kind of extravagance. In his opinion, a thatched house was enough to shelter him from the wind and rain. It even needed to be covered by the sky and on the ground. What really attracted Jiang Tian was a giant spirit vein under the warm jade-blessed land. 100 meters underground, there was a giant spirit vein hidden. The spirit qi was extremely rich and had already crystallized. It was crystal clear like a red agate, far more than the spirit veins Jiang Tian had seen in other worlds. The spirit veins on Earth were even more difficult to catch up. No wonder the Qi world had so many golden core cultivators in recent years, far more than the stellar sky domain. They have such a deep foundation. Bai Zai touched his chin that was full of green stubble and said gloomily. According to the number of golden core cultivators in the Qi world, it was comparable to an ordinary third-grade dimensional world. But the stellar sky domain had spent hundreds of years and exhausted the resources of the entire continent to only produce one golden core cultivator, Li Longyuan. If we absorb all of this spirit vein, we can produce at least 3 ordinary nascent soul heavenly lords. Jiang Tian revealed a look of deep thought and said, Bai Zai, you're only a nascent soul cultivator. It's far from enough to guard the stellar sky domain or conquer the sea of stars in the future. I think we should cultivate here and break through once. Apart from this giant spirit vein, the Crimson Stone sect's treasure vault had been opened. Many spirit stones, herbs, and artifacts had been moved here. They were piled up like mountains and couldn't be counted. With so many cultivation resources and Jiang Tian's heaven-defying cultivation technique, it wasn't exaggerated to produce 3 nascent soul cultivators. Although cultivation is important, the Kanglan world has been taken over by the Jade Lake. This time, you killed 4 nascent soul heavenly lords, including Emperor Qinqing's woman. With Emperor Qinqing's vengeful personality, he will definitely lead an army here. How will we have time to cultivate? Bai Zai said anxiously. It won't take too long. I'll teach you the primal chaos creation art. Its devouring ability is amazing. You can devour the entire spirit vein in a year. And with this, Jiang Tian looked calm and unhurried. He flicked his finger and took out the time array disc. What's this? Bai Zai's eyes shone with a strange light and asked curiously. Originally, Bai Zai's personality was simple and crude. He didn't like to use his brain and didn't know much about arrays. However, in the past few years, he learned a lot when repairing the damaged Heavenly Star array. He could tell at a glance that the array disc was extraordinary. Jiang Tian raised his hand and grabbed a Qi cultivator from the prisoner camp in the distance. He imprisoned the cultivator with a forbidden domain and activated the formation plate. With a spin, it arrived above the cultivator's head and unleashed thousands of streaks of auspicious light, enveloping the cultivator like a shield. Senior Tai Chu, please spare my life. The prisoner felt that something was wrong and begged for mercy. Jiang Tian didn't move. Bai Zai saw in shock. The dantian of this cultivator violently rumbled, the true essence and qi and blood in his body rapidly drained away, the strong and bulging muscles on his body shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye, the violently beating heart gradually became weak and old, the originally straight as a sword body rapidly bent, trembling all over, unable to stand steadily, the firm and glossy skin became gray and wrinkled, and yellowish-brown spots appeared on it, the thick black hair on his head turned gray, and then fell off one by one, revealing an ugly scalp. He seemed to have gone through 100 years in the blink of an eye. From a vigorous cultivator in the refinement stage, he had turned into an old man whose eyes were cloudy, his teeth were falling out, and he seemed to be about to run out of energy and pass away in the next moment. This is a time acceleration array disc. Bai Zai was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Jiang Tian took back the array disc. The cultivator immediately rolled to the ground and couldn't get up. A few guards came forward and took him away. Jiang Tian said lightly, I just adjusted the speed of the time acceleration array disc to the extreme and reached 100 or 1,000 times faster. He's just an early-stage qi refinement cultivator. Of course he can't bear it. How terrifying. Bai Zai's heart trembled. He gasped and cold sweat dripped down. Time had always been the most difficult thing to control. Cultivation arts, divine powers, Dharma artifacts, and Dharma treasures that involve time were extremely rare in the universe. However, Jiang Tian actually had a time acceleration array disc. Moreover, it was able to achieve such a terrifying time acceleration. If it was used to kill enemies, it would simply be unstoppable. There's such a terrifying array disc on Earth? Bai Zai was dumbfounded and couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. Jiang Tian, You're too lucky. Beside him, Zhang Qianlei was even more envious. He sighed and felt extreme regret. If he knew that following Jiang Tian would allow him to obtain so many powerful Dharma treasures and endless resources, he wouldn't have come to a godforsaken place like the Crimson Wilderness. Ancient Earth was indeed the ancestral land. It was too mysterious and had a deep heritage. It actually had so many immortal artifacts left behind. Be it the Absolute Heaven Sword or the Time Acceleration Array Disc, they were probably rare even in the ruins of immortality. What was laughable was that many multidimensional world experts had forgotten their ancestors. They had forgotten that ancient Earth was their ancestral land, the source that gave birth to the multidimensional worlds. They treated Earth as a remote and desolate wasteland. They looked down on it and even wanted to invade and occupy it. Only Jiang Tian, who was born on Earth, was filled with love for his homeland and the land that gave birth to it. He would fully excavate Earth's reserves and obtain great blessings. The natural treasures he had were enough to make the ruins emperor envious. Chapter 1352. My lord, with this array disc, you will have the help of God. Bai Zhe rubbed his hands like a fly, and his saliva almost flowed out. His eyes and heart were filled with greed and passion, and he was full of envy for Jiang Tian. Don't just think about the lethality of the time array disc. Jiang Tian smiled and said. If you adjust the time array disc to a suitable speed, it will greatly increase your cultivation speed. Yes. Bai Zhe patted his head and said excitedly. For example, if I adjust it to 10 times the speed, I will only need to cultivate for a month and it will be equivalent to a year. If it's 20 times the speed, it will be even faster. Jiang Tian waved at ancestral patriarch Xinlong and said. I will also cultivate in seclusion for a month and reach the first level of the Golden Core level. Xinlong, go to Kanglan World with Blackie. If you can defeat them, kill all the cultivators of the Jade Lake and close the teleportation array. If you can't defeat them, run back. Jiang Tian had his reasons for making such arrangements. There were 7 Heavenly Lord families and sects in the Jade Lake, including the Tiandao sect. There were a few nascent soul Heavenly Lords. Including ancestral patriarch Tai Ri who died in the Tianxing sector, there were already 4. The rest of them were only 2 or 3 big cats and small cats. However, the Jade Lake's territory had expanded too much and the battle line was too long. The Jade Lake and its subordinate 4th-level dimension worlds, plus the Dragon Gate they occupied, all needed Heavenly Lords to guard. In this way, only 1 or 2 Heavenly Lords would be given to the Kanglan world. Even though Xinlong was only at the first level of the nascent soul level, as long as he didn't fight head-on, he could escape unscathed. Yes, Master. I will not disappoint you. Ancestral Patriarch Xinlong was shocked. After Jiang Tian formed the Golden Core, he had been stuck at the first level of the Golden Core level, but he could already kill nascent soul overlords and withstand the self-destruction of a nascent soul. If he reached the mid-stage of the Golden Core level this time, he might be able to fight against a mid-stage nascent soul level or even a soul formation overlord. Even though there was only a certain probability, at least there was hope. True Dragon, don't worry. You won't fail me this time. Suddenly, a burst of laughter rang out from the distant horizon. From the Heavenly Star Refugee Camp's teleportation array formation, 3 silhouettes soared into the sky, turning into rainbows that pierced through the heavens and earth, leaving long after images in the air as they shot over. Nascent Soul Heavenly Monarch. Seeing this kind of powerful aura that could penetrate the heavens and the earth, he was shocked. Bai Zhe was shocked. His pupils suddenly constricted as he stared into the distance and said with full vigilance, "That's right. Could it be that the experts of the Jade Lake have invaded the Heavenly Star and are attacking again? The Dragon Gate and Jade Pool's teleportation array to Heavenly Star has been closed. They had no choice but to forcefully break through the spatial barrier. It's impossible without a few decades." True Dragon Grand Ancestor murmured as he shook his head. Suddenly, joy appeared on his face as he said, "Lian Sheng, Ta Kong, and Mingi are here." His divine sense was astonishing. Sure enough, he wasn't mistaken. The three of them quickly arrived in front of Jiang Tian. They knelt down and said, "Greetings, my lord." Three more nascent soul stage cultivators. Bai Zai was stunned. His eyes were wide open. This old demon Jiang is too overbearing. Even his subordinates are nascent soul stage cultivators. Fuck, I don't have any status now. Zhang Qianlei was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe it. They weren't that powerful before. Jiang Tian said, "I took them in West Earth. They were just nascent soul stage cultivators back then, but now they're all nascent soul stage cultivators. The Taichu Dominator is too powerful." Ding Lingdang looked at Jiang Tian with admiration, as if she were a fan who had seen her idol. Lian Xing's aura was vigorous, and his eyes were murderous, like Vajra's glare. He stepped on the air, ethereal, like an immortal, as if he would soar into the sky at any moment. The aura of the Styx River was bleak and murderous, and the aura of death lingered around him. The three of them had the temperament of a master craftsman. Their strength was comparable to that of true dragon grand ancestor, and they were much more powerful than Bai Zai and Zhang Qianlei. They didn't know that these people used to be dominators of a third-level dimension. They didn't want to submit to the rule of the ruins of deity, so they hid in the Thunder Lock realm and submitted to Jiang Tian. It turned out that Ding Lai had gone to Earth to invite the three old monsters. The three old monsters were concerned about the situation here. They were worried that Jiang Tian wouldn't be able to defeat them, so they rushed over to help. They even brought Long Yanan over. This was to make the enemy hesitate or force the enemy to surrender at a critical moment. But they didn't expect that. Jiang Tian was as powerful as a dragon. He killed 4 nascent soul stage cultivators in one night and swept through the entire Crimson Wild world. Fortunately, Navy Tide World hadn't been taken down yet. The three of them weren't powerless. Very good. You came just in time. Jiang Tian nodded and smiled. If we only had a 50% chance of winning, now that you're all here, taking down Navy Tide World shouldn't be a problem. Go. Yes. The 4 of them soared into the sky and turned into 4 streaks of light, flying in the direction of the Crimson Stone sect. There was a teleportation formation that led to Navy Tide World. They could enter through this formation and kill the guards of Jade Pool. After the 4 of them left, the ruins were silent. Only Ding Lingdang was left to protect Jiang Tian and the other 2. Lei Sen, Shen Jiuling, and other cultivators stood around like guards. However, Jiang Tian wasn't afraid at all. The headquarters of the Crimson Stone sect was 1,000 miles away. Even if Jade Pool's nascent soul stage cultivators entered, Jiang Tian would still have time to sense and react. As for the Crimson Wild World cultivators, they couldn't wait to worship and curry favor with him. None of them dared to provoke him. At this moment, Zhang Qianlei and Bai Zai looked at each other. They soared into the sky and sat cross-legged in the air. They silently circulated the primal chaos creation art and began to sense and absorb the spiritual energy of the ley lines in warm jade-blessed land. As for Jiang Tian, he also began to sort out his cultivation method. Now that I've cultivated 9 divine bodies and condensed a primal chaos golden core, every galaxy on the primal chaos golden core represents a divine grade golden core and a divine body. Once the silhouette of each galaxy is activated, it has the power to fight against a nascent soul stage cultivator. Jiang Tian frowned as he pondered. However, these 9 galaxies were only the silhouettes of the laws. They hadn't truly formed the laws and condensed the true form of the laws. The reason why Jiang Tian was able to fight against a nascent soul stage cultivator was completely because of the instincts of his divine body. To be exact, it was his innate divine ability. However, the success rate of his innate divine ability wasn't 100%. There was a certain chance of failure. In a battle against a nascent soul stage cultivator, danger was everywhere. As the saying went, one careless move could cause the whole game to be lost. How could there be any mistakes? Now, Jiang Tian wanted to further solidify the silhouettes of the laws. Once the silhouettes solidified, they would become true law imprints. The corresponding divine body would also reach the realm of perfection. Only then would Jiang Tian truly have the power of a nascent soul stage cultivator. This was similar to ascending to the height of the laws through thousands of practice. From subconscious instincts to skillful control. Once the laws were formed, every battle would be foolproof. It was an extreme sublimation, which would greatly increase Jiang Tian's chances of winning. Besides, only when the 9 types of laws were stable and condensed and formed the true seal of laws and the 9 divine bodies were perfected and flawless could they complement each other. In the end, the core would be broken and the nascent soul would be formed. The 9 orifices divine infant would then be successfully promoted to a divine grade nascent soul. A sacred grade nascent soul stage cultivator was the strongest in the world of cultivation. A deity grade nascent soul stage cultivator was the seed of a deity. A divine grade nascent soul stage cultivator was the seed of an immortal. With such a divine grade seed, the chances of breaking through to the void returning or Tao reunion level and eventually going through the tribulation to ascend to the deity realm would be almost 100%. It would be far more powerful than a deity grade nascent soul stage cultivator. It would even have the chance to continuously evolve and ascend to the divine realm. With the supreme divine grade nascent soul as the foundation and the divine grade nascent 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 divine grade then, he would be able to climb to the top of the universe one day and look down on billions of galaxies, laying the foundation for all eternity. Once a divine grade nascent soul was formed, even the divine princes and divine fetuses in the deity realm and the divine realm wouldn't be able to compare. That would greatly increase the chances of Jiang Tian ascending to the divine realm. To a certain extent, once a divine grade nascent soul was formed, Jiang Tian would be no different from the children of true gods, he might even be better in some aspects. After all, the children of true gods were only the second generation of true gods. They were like flowers in a greenhouse, they had never been tempered and were still lacking in terms of stability and battle experience. On the other hand, Jiang Tian was truly a first-generation sky god. Chapter 1353. However, being the son of a true god also had his advantages. Not only did he have a divine grade golden core or nascent soul, he also had a divine body, divine meridians and divine souls. It could be said that Jiang Tian's cultivation wasn't done blindly or in a hurry for quick success. Instead, it was carefully planned and steady. Every step he took was incomparably firm. From the beginning of his cultivation, Jiang Tian's goal was to become the strongest in the universe. If Jiang Tian hadn't pursued excellence and perfection, he would have been too slow. If he had only pursued breakthroughs and speed, he would have broken through to the nascent soul level or even a half-soul formation level with the resources he had obtained from the other dimensions. The time array plate floated above his head and spun slowly. Rays of light formed a light curtain that enveloped Jiang Tian. 9 transformations of the divine plate. Every time it spins, it forms a true seal of Dharma laws. It's like refining a golden core to the golden core peak stage or even the nascent soul level. Jiang Tian looked at it and exclaimed. The resources I've used are enormous. Luckily, I've searched the heavenly star world, heavenly country, West Earth, and the red field world and broken the deity trap array. The resources I've obtained are enough for me to break through at least once. Whoosh! Jiang Tian patted the sky-swallowing demon gourd and a golden tower appeared in his hand. What's that? In the distance, Ding Lingdang and Zhang Qianlei were startled. The ancient pagoda emitted endless golden light and was filled with thousands of auspicious colors. It was yellow, shiny, and incomparably smooth. However, it was as heavy as a mountain, as if it was made of gold and was formed by the condensation of endless golden cores. Golden core. That's right. Right then, there was no other word that could describe the tower better in everyone's eyes. Because this ancient pagoda exuded an aura of immortality, indestructibility, eternity, and unbelievably sturdiness. It was extremely similar to a golden core. This pagoda was none other than the 10,000 Buddha's relic pagoda. It was the treasure of the Golden Rock Temple on West Earth Mountain. It was said to have been made with 10,000 golden cores of eminent monks. Of course, in Jiang Tian's eyes, it was definitely an exaggeration to say that 10,000 Sarira golden cores were condensed. As for the real number, it was bound to be greatly reduced. After all, in the history of Golden Rock Temple, there were probably only a few dozen golden elixirs. This was understandable. If Golden Rock Temple wanted to suppress West Earth, it naturally had to exaggerate its strength and foundation. Otherwise, how could they convince the masses? How could they suppress the thousands of sects and clans? How could they suppress the cultivators, mortals, and hundreds of millions of other creatures? However, he could not underestimate the 10,000 Buddha relic pagoda because of this. It also contained the blood essence of many eminent monks and the demonic cores of demonic beasts. It was not an exaggeration to say that it contained the power of at least 100 golden cores. Furthermore, later on, Jiang Tian had also refined the gold cores of certain quality that he had obtained from killing people everywhere. Only the inferior ones would be refined into pills for the large black dog or eaten raw. Even the nascent soul essence of Duanmu Guang and the other nascent soul cultivators that he had killed had been refined and stored. If that was the case, this pagoda would have at least 1,000 ordinary golden cores. Rumble. At this time, Jiang Tian had already cultivated to the golden core realm. If he continued to cultivate, how terrifying would his power be? Under everyone's astonished gazes, as Jiang Tian circulated the primal chaos creation art, the 10,000 Buddha relic pagoda instantly cracked and shattered. A terrifying shockwave was instantly formed, as if hundreds of small nuclear weapons had exploded. The golden essence chi of the gold cores and nascent souls rolled out like raging waves, sweeping away everything within a radius of 100 miles. At this moment, violent winds howled, and sand and stones flew everywhere. Heaven and earth were in chaos. Even the sky trembled violently as if it was about to be torn apart by a hurricane. It exploded directly. Bai Zai and Zhang Qianlei turned pale with fright as they were thrown off their feet. The power of this 10,000 Buddha relic pagoda was actually so terrifying. If it was to be absorbed and refined, then it would naturally have to be polished, sliced, and refined. How could it be blasted apart so cleanly like this? Dare I ask you, old demon Jiang, are you cultivating or committing suicide? However, Jiang Tian, who was only a foot away from the 10,000 Buddha relic pagoda, seemed as if a cool breeze was blowing against his face. His expression was still as calm as water, and he wasn't affected in the slightest. Only his clothes and long hair lightly fluttered. As for Bai Zai and Zhang Qianlei, after retreating more than 100 meters, they were immediately fixed in the air. The golden essence chi of the golden core relics swept past them 3 meters away, unable to penetrate even the slightest bit. Master used the forbidden zone to protect us. This is unbelievable. Only a fiend like him would dare to do this. Zhang Qianlei and Bai Zai's foreheads were covered in sweat, they were extremely terrified. The next moment, Jiang Tian used the forbidden zone again. The golden core and nascent soul essence within a 10-kilometer radius froze and floated in the air like golden clouds, enveloping Jiang Tian. Swallow. Jiang Tian used the Tao Tai returns to its essence. A vortex that resembled a black hole appeared in his dantian, containing an extremely terrifying devouring power. Moreover, the vortex continued to expand, instantly forming a radius of 1 kilometer. Instantly, the black hole vortex sucked in the endless golden core essence like a whale sucking in water. The colorful golden core and nascent soul essence surged towards the black vortex like a tide. Finally, it gathered at the center of the vortex, Jiang Tian's dantian. In just a few seconds, there wasn't a single drop of the endless golden core essence left. At this moment, in Jiang Tian's dantian, the golden core essence chi was surging like a tide. Even in his meridians, there was an endless amount of essence chi surging endlessly, making a rumbling sound that could be heard for 100 miles. Crack. Suddenly, several cracks appeared in Jiang Tian's dantian. Jiang Tian's body suddenly expanded rapidly, turning into a 10-meter-tall giant. His dantian also expanded as runes flickered and intertwined around the cracks, trying to forcefully mend and heal them. However, just as the cracks in his dantian closed, they opened again. Boom! Endless golden core essence gushed out of the cracks and exploded. At this moment, sand and stones flew everywhere, the mountains boiled, the sky distorted, and the sun and stars blurred. In fact, cracks began to appear on the surface of Jiang Tian's body. His skin cracked as though it was about to explode. Oh no! Master's dantian is damaged. I've already told you, biting off more than you can chew. How can you do this? At the side, Bai Zhe and Zhang Qianlei were shocked and horrified. Lei Sen, Shen Jiling, and the other guards' expressions changed drastically, as though they were facing a great enemy. What should we do? Outside, Ding Lingdang was helpless and was so anxious that she was tearing up. Master, you're too greedy and rash. Many Qie cultivators, who pretended to be Tao protectors but were actually secretly learning from the great Tao, sighed. From the perspective of an ordinary cultivator, at this moment, Jiang Tian's breakthrough had already failed and there was even a danger of his cultivation level dropping significantly. The essence and essence chi gathered in the 10,000 Buddha relic pagoda was truly terrifying. At this moment, it was like a nuclear explosion, exploding, surging and wreaking havoc in Jiang Tian's dantian and every part of his body. Any cultivator, even a nascent soul heavenly lord or a soul formation grand cultivator, would have to carefully absorb and refine such powerful energy. It would take them 10 years or even longer, but Jiang Tian was doing it like a cow chewing a peony. It was like a mortal eating a set meal for 10 people in one go. His stomach would definitely explode. That was because Jiang Tian had the support of 9 divine bodies and the Taoyu's essence restoration was constantly suppressing and devouring. If it was a normal cultivator, even a nascent soul or soul formation cultivator, his body would probably explode and die within a few seconds. The essence chi of 5 nascent soul cultivators and a few hundred golden cores is enough to scare you? In my opinion, it's not enough. Don't be nervous. Focus on cultivating. I have a way to deal with it. However, Jiang Tian, who was at the center, looked calm and smiled leisurely. He quickly came up with 2 countermeasures. First, he took out 10 Butian pills and swallowed them. Then, he pointed at the time array disc and activated it. Boom! The instant Jiang Tian swallowed the 10 heaven-mending pills, it was as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. An incomparably vast amount of spiritual energy exploded within Jiang Tian's body. However, the spirit qi didn't further damage Jiang Tian's dantian. Instead, they interweaved and pulled at the damaged parts of his dantian and body like threads, quickly repairing them. All the cracks were repaired in the blink of an eye. Moreover, they emitted a dazzling divine radiance, seeming to be several times tougher than before. The moment Jiang Tian's dantian closed. Refine. Jiang Tian's face was like iron, without the slightest trace of expression. However, within his eyes, there was a sharp and firm cold light. Chapter 1354. Rumble. Jiang Tian's dantian let out a thunderous roar that echoed for 100 miles. Immediately, Jiang Tian used the chaotic creation art and the endless golden core essence chi was quickly absorbed by Jiang Tian, forming his true essence. The time array was 10 times faster and 3 days were equivalent to a month in the outside world. 3 days later, the vast golden core essence chi in the 10,000 Buddha relic pagoda was all refined into Jiang Tian's true essence. The true essence didn't have any attributes at first, it was like a chaotic energy. But at this moment, within Jiang Tianzhu's dantian, the divine disc spun, and the golden river of stars slowly shook. Endless gung metal true yuan erupted, and a gung metal divine general appeared behind Jiang Tianzhu. The divine general was wearing a golden helmet and golden armor. It was as tall as a mountain and it shone brightly, as if it were completely made of a golden core. It emitted an indestructible and powerful energy and looked 80% similar to Jiang Tian. Everyone was dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, the gunmetal divine general also had a dantian in his body. There was a gunmetal golden core in the dantian, and it absorbed all the attributeless vital essence from Jiang Tianzhu's dantian and turned it into gunmetal vital essence. Another 10 days later, all the true essence in Jiang Tian's dantian was absorbed and refined by the divine general Gung Jin. The golden core in divine general Gung Jin's dantian formed the shape of a golden fetus. Boom! The golden fetus raised its head and roared at the sky. It shone with boundless radiance as it trembled and rumbled. The aura of the Gungjin divine general behind Jiang Tian also rose steadily, as if it would never end, as if it could lift up the sky. Under everyone's shocked gaze, it shot up endlessly and illuminated the sky, as if it were going to break the barrier of the dimension and reach an unprecedented height. Right then, the divine general Gung Jin didn't use any divine powers, but the energy it released was much more powerful than Duanmu Guang and the others. It made the sky shake and everything in 100-mile radius trembled, as if there was an earthquake. Gung Jin had even doubled in size, and it was like a mountain of gold and jade that held up the sky. Moreover, it had become material to the extreme, dazzling and resplendent, and it illuminated the heavens and the earth and illuminated the sun and moon. He formed the nascent soul in 13 days. That's terrifying. Everyone was terrified and they couldn't believe it. In fact, even though only 13 days had passed in the outside world, Jiang Tian had cultivated for more than 4 months with the help of the time array. But no one knew that. They only thought that Jiang Tian formed the nascent soul in 13 days. How could they not be shocked? Besides, even if Jiang did take 4 months' true essence, it would still be a record-breaking achievement. Even among the peerless sects in the central galaxy, it was extremely rare and eye-catching. This is only the Grand Primordium Sovereign's first nascent soul formation divine body, but it already has such terrifying power. If all 9 of them formed their nascent souls at the same time, how terrifying would that be? Bai Zhe saw it more deeply, but his heart was even more shocked. Still not enough. At this moment, Jiang Tian slowly opened his eyes. A hint of determination flashed in his eyes as he said calmly, "Don't worry. The gunmetal divine body has yet to reach perfection. Today, I'll use this warm jade spiritual vein to push him to perfection." At this moment, Jiang Tian had 8 other divine bodies and 8 galaxies on the Master Deity's golden core, which represented 8 different golden cores. Just the Gungjin divine general, who had successfully formed his nascent soul, was enough to kill a nascent soul cultivator as easily as killing a chicken. However, Jiang Tian was still not satisfied. The first divine body that Jiang Tian condensed was the gunmetal divine body. Although the gunmetal divine body had the name of a divine body, it was actually one of the 12 most powerful immortal bodies and not a true divine body. However, at that time, Jiang Tian had very few cultivation resources and he was facing many powerful enemies, so he could only make do with what he had. The gunmetal divine body had been nourished endlessly and it was the first to reach the phenomenal success level. That day, Jiang Tian was determined to push it to perfection. Tao Tai returns. Jiang Tian reached out his hand. All of a sudden, the entire warm jade-blessed land trembled. Boundless earth lung qi and boundless spiritual qi turned into red clouds that flowed into Jiang Tian's body like a great river. In the end, the spirit qi of different colors in the vast barren world, including the earth, fire, wood, and yin malice qi, formed a howling hurricane from all directions and poured into Jiang Tian's body. The essence qi in a few hundred miles was taken by Jiang Tian. Countless spirit herbs, desolate wood, and spirit herbs on the oasis let out crackling sounds and instantly withered, turning into spirit qi that merged into the great tide. Jiang Tian was like a black hole, crazily sucking in all the energy around him. Many Foundation establishment and Golden Core demonic beasts were scared out of their wits and ran away crazily. Ding Ling Dang and the others also retreated a few hundred miles before they managed to stop themselves. Forming the nascent soul is nothing. This time, Master is really going to enter the forbidden area of the nascent soul realm and form his own laws. Bai Zhe looked up in shock with anticipation. While Jiang Tian was cultivating in seclusion in the warm jade-blessed land of the barren world, ancestral patriarch Shenlong and the other old monsters had already killed a nascent soul ancestral patriarch of the Jade Lake world and conquered the Kanglan world. Also, the news of the four heavenly lords and the fall of the barren world had already spread throughout the Jade Lake world, shocking everyone again. In fact, there were very few details when the news of Star World first came. Many people thought that the Stellar Sky Domain and Kang Te-Chu had used some tricks or powerful true artifacts to kill ancestral patriarch Binding Sun, Chen Liuhe, and the other Jade Lake cultivators. Although they hated Jiang Tian, there was still a trace of contempt in their bones. 3 heavenly lords and ancestral patriarch who she even brought the supreme grade true artifact ancestral dragon rhinoceros head. Together with ancestral patriarch Hong Xia from the barren world, there are 4 nascent soul realm cultivators in total. This is like using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. It's not just using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken, it's using a true artifact to kill a mosquito. That Kang Te-Chu will definitely be crushed. I think that Kang Te-Chu relied on tricks to win. Do we still need the ancestral patriarchs? I'm just a second-stage Golden Core Realm cultivator, and I'm confident that I can crush him. That's right. This is the 12th level of success. It's foolproof. You have to know that Ancestral Patriarch Duanmu and the others have the help of Ancestral Patriarch Hong Xia. They also have the home ground advantage, and many Golden Core and Foundation Establishment cultivators from the barren world are cooperating with them. This is the wisdom of the Azure the Arch. When a tiger fights a rabbit, it has to use all its strength. Although Kang Te-Chu is just an insignificant ant, we still have to stretch out all 5 fingers and crush him to death. Many Jade Lake cultivators didn't take Jiang Tian seriously. They were full of confidence and were determined to win. The difficulty of reaching the nascent soul realm was as difficult as reaching the heavens. There was usually only one nascent soul realm cultivator among hundreds of millions of cultivators. They had high positions and were the nobles and officials of this world. They looked down on hundreds of millions of living beings. With a stomp of their feet, this world would tremble. The strength of a nascent soul realm cultivator was even more unimaginable. With one attack, 10 miles of land would be turned into dust. It would spread to a radius of 100 miles. It would be easy to destroy cities and countries. With such a luxurious lineup of 4 nascent soul realm cultivators attacking, Kang Te-Chu was just an ant from the Earth world. How could he withstand it? Even the Duanmu clan, Thousand Tails Shin clan, Dragon Rhinoceros Hu clan, Huangfu clan, and other clans that were originally gloomy became joyful and full of vigor. They were waiting for the ancestral patriarchs to return in triumph and sharpen their blades until they were as bright as snow. They were only waiting for them to take Kang Te-Chu to this world and torture him for thousands of years. This time, with the 3 heavenly monarchs attacking, Kang Te-Chu will definitely die. Taking down the Stellar Sky Domain will also be a piece of cake. Once we take down the Stellar Sky Domain, we can kill our way to the Earth world through the teleportation array and slaughter all the animals and ants there. Not even a single Chinese alligator will be left. Some cultivators clamored. It could be said that Star World had never been as important as it was today. In the 4th level dimension that they controlled, the ancient teleportation arrays from the Kanglan world and the barren world to Earth were all destroyed. Now, the Stellar Sky Domain was the only passage from the Jade Lake to the Earth world. Of course, to the Earth world, it was also the last fortress. Once it was broken, the ruins of immortality and the other dimensional worlds would be completely connected to the Earth world. Revenge. Revenge. Kang Te-Chu plotted against our Jade Lake's 6 Directions Crown Prince and killed 300,000 soldiers. We will take revenge 10 times, 100 times. We will let them know that our cultivation world is not to be trifled with. Yes, we will kill every single one of them and turn them into a completely lifeless planet of death. There were even some commanders and generals who were preparing their horses and troops, waiting for the dawn to come. They cleaned up the cultivator army, rubbed their palms, and trained all day long. They were only waiting for the heavenly monarchs to kill Kang Te-Chu and regain control of the stellar sky domain. Then, through the stellar sky domain, they would go straight to the Earth world and start a massacre. Just as many forces thought that Kang Te-Chu would definitely lose this time and were waiting for good news. Suddenly, on the teleportation array platform leading to the barren world, a group of injured soldiers appeared. Their armor was broken, their bodies were stained with blood, their bones were broken, and they looked extremely miserable. Kang Te-Chu killed Duanmu Guang, Shen Jingjing, Hu Shi, and the Red Cloud ancestor from the barren world. The barren world has fallen. In addition, the Kanglin world has also fallen. Suddenly, 4 nascent soul realm old monsters appeared. They are extremely powerful and despicable. When the news spread, everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. The Jade Lake cultivators who had previously vowed that Jiang Tian would definitely lose and were flaunting their strength and talking nonsense. After hearing the news, their expressions were even more unsightly, as if they were constipated. I really fucked 100 Chinese alligators. They felt like they had eaten a few flies, like they had been slapped in the face, or like they had accidentally fucked 100 strange beasts. Chapter 1355. How is this possible? Kang Te-Chu is just an ant from the Earth domain. How can he kill 4 ancestors? Lying about military intelligence is a capital offense. Even the cultivators of the Chi-Yi world didn't believe it, let alone the cultivators of the Jade Pool. They thought highly of themselves. Not to mention the Earth domain and Kang Te-Chu, even the stellar sky domain was just a remote place in their eyes. The cultivators there were just ants and dust. If the Azure the Arch wasn't crazy and wanted to take down the Earth domain, they wouldn't even bother to look at it. They didn't send back details last time, but it was different this time. This time, Jiang Tian and the others didn't close the teleportation array immediately. They even deliberately let them pass the message. So, many shocking news came out one after another. Kang Te-Chu has 4 nascent soul realm old monsters under his command. They attacked the Kanglin world. An army of 50,000 cultivators and more than 10 peak stage golden core realm cultivators were annihilated. Kang Te-Chu is only a golden core realm cultivator, but he can form and destroy forbidden regions. Fairy Jingjing was crushed by him. Kang Te-Chu even threatened that he would personally go to the Jade Pool within a month to ask the Azure the Arch for invading his territory. These news were more shocking than the previous. It was like an earth-shattering shock, and people couldn't recover from it. Shen Jingjing, that's the future empress. She was actually killed. How can the Azure the Arch let him go? Those who heard it all gasped as if they were struck by lightning and turned into clay statues. The Jade Pool world was a 3rd-grade dimensional world, and it was the most outstanding existence in the 3rd-grade dimensional world. The Tao land here was vast, the spirit energy was like clouds and mist, the spirit springs were like rivers and waterfalls, and the spirit herbs and spirit pills were as abundant as the sea. All the major inheritances were prosperous and developed. In 2,000 years, it actually surpassed many 2nd-grade dimensional worlds and produced 10 nascent soul realm cultivators. This result was enough to be compared with the 2nd-grade dimensional worlds and top all the 3rd-grade dimensional worlds. But they were actually defeated by Kang Te-Chu. What did Kang Te-Chu have? What did the Earth domain and the stellar sky domain have? It was like the white residents in Washington who thought highly of themselves were dumbfounded and could not believe it when they heard that a primitive tribe in Africa had produced a few Harvard professors or Nobel Prize winners. What did he say? He said that he would come to the Jade Lake world within a month to question His Majesty the Azure the Arch. Is he crazy? Especially the last piece of news. Not only was it shocking, it was also infuriating. You're just an ant from the Earth world, yet you've killed several giants of the Jade Lake world. You've offended your superiors, and your crime is unforgivable. Now, not only are you not fearful, remorseful, and bowing your head, you are provoking us again, swaggering your way to our door. You're courting death in fancy ways. However, at this moment, compared to the boisterous low-level cultivators, several famous heavenly monarch families and sects maintained a strange silence and did not make a sound easily. In the Huangfu clan of the Heaven Monarch, on a mountain peak that was shrouded by spirit energy like clouds, orchids swayed gently, and dragon-like spirit vines coiled and climbed on the mountain walls. Clear spirit spring water flowed on the clean boulders, and essence waterfalls fell like silver threads. Cranes flew in the forest and auspicious beasts ran around. 3 ancestor-level powerhouses were sitting cross-legged on a huge bluestone. Their expressions were serene, like old monks who had entered a meditative state. Duanmu Guang, Hu Shi, Shen Jingjing and ancestral patriarch Hong Xia. TSK, those 4 are all nascent soul heavenly lords who can cast forbidden realms. They've all been killed. This Jiang Taichu has really pierced the heavens. An ancestral patriarch on the right suddenly sensed something and said with a bit of surprise. This old man has never thought that there would be such a terrifying being on earth. Could it be that the legend is actually true? What should we do? He had even killed that vixen Shen Jingjing. His Majesty Emperor Qing would definitely be furious. Besides, Ping Tian was also killed by him. Are we, the Huangfu family, going to hold our noses and bear with it? An old woman on the left frowned. The legend of the pregnant deity is too vague and unreal. Let's not talk about it for now. The patriarch in the middle pondered for a moment. His sharp eyes were filled with worry, and his expression was slightly solemn. However, Kang Taichu was able to kill Duanmu Guang and the other ancestral patriarchs. We're about the same level as ancestral patriarch Duanmu. This means that Kang Taichu can also kill us. Half of the nascent soul heavenly lords in the Jade Lake world have died. If Chen doesn't ask for help, he won't win. We just need to wait and see. After all, this world belongs to the Chen family after all. Yes. After the 3 old men finished their discussion, they closed their eyes and continued to cultivate. Their auras were like old turtles, faintly discernible. They didn't mention Huangfu Pingtian's death again. Which heavenly lord family didn't have deep roots? They had many talents and cultivated an echelon of heirs. Firstly, it was to divide the power. Secondly, it was to make them compete with each other to make contributions for the family. Thirdly, it was to reduce the risk. If only one elite died, there would be no successor. If Huangfu Pingtian died, then so be it. Immediately, there would be other descendants with talents that weren't inferior to him to take his place. This was the only way to ensure that the lineage of the clan continued to be passed down, and the clan's luck would flourish for a long time. As a nascent soul heavenly lord family, they weren't stupid. To fight to the death with Jiang Tian over a small grudge and let others benefit from it, surpassing them from behind. That was the worst plan. This was also the reason why the Huangfu family didn't do much when the Duanmu family, the Shen family and the Hu family asked their ancestral patriarchs to kill Jiang Tian. However, if Chen had a high chance of winning, they would definitely come out to suppress Jiang Tian and occupy the inferior worlds. However, the Duanmu family, the Shen family and the Hu family had suffered heavy losses in this battle, but they kept silent. Jiang Tian had killed 4 heavenly lords and had a mysterious nascent soul cultivator with him. His power was too terrifying. This changed their attitude towards Jiang Tian from extreme disdain to extreme caution. They carefully evaluated Jiang Tian's power and didn't come up with a plan. Just as the entire Jade Lake fell into a strange silence, and no one made a sound, a voice rang out. In the depths of the Tiandao sect, Emperor Chen Qing's angry roar came from the Tiandao Palace, which was like a bronze immortal palace. Jiang Taichu, you killed my son and woman. This enmity is as deep as the sea. I will not rest until you are dead. Do you think I'll wait for you to come to the Jade Lake? What a joke. At this moment, Emperor Chen felt like his heart was being cut by a knife. His hatred for Jiang Tian was so deep that even the water of the heavenly river couldn't wash it away. He gnashed his teeth, his eyes spitting out flames of fury. His face, which hadn't seemed to be affected by the collapse of the world and the extinction of thousands of races for thousands of years, was twisted like an evil ghost at the moment. I'm going to go to the stellar sky sector and the earth sector. I'll kill all your family, friends, and all the people on earth. He yelled to the sky and his voice was heard 100 miles away. The mountains shook violently and the entire Jade Lake world was shocked. Kang Te-Chu, I'm going to take out your divine soul and let you watch how your family and friends are killed by me. After hearing that, the entire Jade Lake was shocked. Countless people looked serious. They knew the top sect of the Jade Lake was finally going to stand up and take control of the Jade Lake. If Emperor Chen went to the Jade Lake world in person, the situation would immediately change. Emperor Chen had already entered the mid-stage of the nascent soul level. In terms of power, many ancestral patriarchs couldn't compare to him. More importantly, he had received countless resources from the 100 Moon Academy and formed a 7th grade Golden Core. The grade of the nascent soul was determined when the Golden Core was formed. This meant that the Ruins Emperor's nascent soul was much more powerful than others. His combat power was almost invincible among his peers. In the 100 Moon Academy, he had even received guidance from the Ruins Emperor, who had truly mastered the laws and principles. He was called the Ruins Emperor's disciple and the Ruins Emperor's direct descendant among the Realm Lords. His power had reached an unimaginable level. Just when everyone thought that Emperor Chen would immediately send out his army and start a shocking war to kill the people of the Stellar Sky Sector, what was strange was that Tiandao sect once again fell into a strange silence. Emperor Chen had also ordered that the family heads and the sect masters of the heavenly sects couldn't go out easily and had to wait for orders in Heaven Capital. Heaven Capital was the capital of the Jade Lake dynasty and the most prosperous city in the Jade Lake world. It was located at the foot of the Kun Yun Mountain where the Tiandao sect was located. This was the Jade Lake world, the place where cultivation and the secular world intersected. In short, the Tiandao sect was the leader of the cultivation world in the Jade Lake world. And the Star Capital was the place where the highest authority of the secular world was located. All the major states had set up their envoys here. All the major sects and clans had also sent their representatives here. Even the headquarters of all the major trading companies were gathered here. But today, the atmosphere in Heaven Capital was solemn. The streets that used to be crowded with pedestrians and the sky that used to be filled with cultivators riding on swords were now empty. There were only dozens of surveillance flying ships that were emitting colorful lights patrolling back and forth. On the flying ships, there was an army of cultivators wearing dazzling golden armor with dragon patterns carved on it. They wore steel helmets, held long halberds in their hands, and had long swords and bows at their waists. They had high noses, deep eyes, and colorful hair. Obviously, they were not cultivators from the Jade Lake world. But each of them had a stern expression and a murderous aura. Their aura soared into the sky as pairs of sharp eyes scanned the surroundings. In the city, any cultivator flying on swords was immediately captured and killed. What's going on? What kind of big shot is coming? Why is there such a strict martial law? I heard that a young master of the Duanmu family was angry because his cousin, Duanmu Ci, died in battle. He drank too much and rode on his sword to the Tiandao palace. He said that he had something to report, but he was killed on the spot. Even the imperial guards of Emperor Qing couldn't stop him. Or rather, they didn't dare to stop him at all. Even the imperial guards didn't give him face. It seems that this group of people is not from the imperial palace. What kind of big shot is coming to make such a big scene? Many cultivators of the Jade Lake were talking about it. They were confused and felt uneasy. The entire Heaven Capital and even the Jade Lake continent. It was shrouded in a gloomy atmosphere, as if it was the last calm before the storm. Chapter 1356. The Jade Lake world was a federated country made up of many states. Emperor Chen Qing was the supreme emperor and the realm master. A group of Heavenly Lord families and sects each occupied a state, listening to his orders and working for him. Those family masters and sect masters were also nobles and officials, forming the daily management structure. Jiang Tian had killed 3 nascent soul Heavenly Lords in the battle in the Chiya world, as if nascent soul cultivators were normal. But in fact, that wasn't the case at all. Not to mention the Jade Lake world, even in the grade 2-dimensional world and the famous ruins of immortality, a nascent soul stage cultivator was still a big shot. There were only a handful of them in the Jade Lake. However, at this moment, the few remaining nascent soul Heavenly Lords in this world, including the Huangfu family and the Duanmu family, were standing respectfully in the reception hall of the Heavenly Dao Palace, not daring to make a sound. Both of them controlled great sects and countries. If they stomped their feet, the entire Jade Lake, which spanned tens of thousands of miles, would tremble uneasily and set off monstrous waves. However, at this moment, they were trembling and their legs went soft. They didn't even have the courage to look at the 2 people sitting in front of them. Only Emperor Qinqing and a young woman were sitting face to face. Emperor Qinqing's body was lofty and majestic like a mountain. The pressure of the middle stage of the nascent soul realm was rolling like a lonely peak overlooking the world. Countless mysterious and sacred auras lingered and filled the place, turning it into a holy land. If Duanmu Ting were here, he would be forced to kneel on the ground and could not even stand up. The woman in front of him looked to be in her 20s. Her streamlined golden armor with 9 dragon patterns accentuated her proud figure. Her waist was slender, and she was sexy to the extreme. She also gave people an inviolable and heroic feeling. The woman's skin was fair, and her features were picturesque. She had a pretty face, but her every movement was elegant and neat. She was mature, steady, and graceful. Her energy was as powerful as Emperor Qinqing's, as if she could control everything and command billions of troops. It seemed that she didn't care about a country, a sect, or billions of entities. Such energy couldn't be faked at all. Only after experiencing the vicissitudes of life, the cruel tempering of the flames of war, the cruel tempering of iron and blood, could it be developed naturally. They had been chatting for a long time. At this time, Emperor Qinqing suddenly stood up and bowed apologetically. Your sister went to Star World to train, but she was captured by that evil thief, Kang Teichu. It's my, Emperor Qinqing's, fault for not taking good care of her. However, Fairy, don't worry. This time, I will personally lead the army and bring your sister back safely. Not a single strand of her hair will be lost. Otherwise, I will allow Fairy to punish me. He was the lord of a realm, and he ruled over a vast territory with billions of subjects. His status was supreme, yet at this moment, his attitude was humble before this woman, and he respected her as if she was a god. If this scene were to spread outside, it would probably shock a group of people, and none of the Jade Lake's cultivators would dare to believe it. However, the other nascent soul Heavenly Lords didn't show any disdain or confusion. They all thought it was reasonable. Because this woman was none other than Long Xingnan, the daughter of the Dragon Clan's sect master, the top orthodoxy in the ocean wave dimension. Besides, she had many other identities. She was the first person to form a 9th-grade golden core in the ruins of deity and all the 2nd-grade worlds in 300 years, the youngest nascent soul cultivator, and the overlord on the God of War list that the Emperor of the Ruins had personally named. An elite disciple of the inner sect of the Emperor of the Ruins Palace. Her 9 Dragons Emperor technique was an upper-grade technique that was not far from the Saint grade. It allowed her to condense a true dragon golden core, unleash a true dragon Dharma idol, and control thousands of dragons and beasts. She was as powerful as a nascent soul cultivator. She wasn't even 30 years old, but with her nascent soul cultivation, she had once subdued an imperishable orthodoxy that had rebelled against the Emperor of the Ruins. There were only a few young people as talented as her in the ruins of deity, not to mention the Jade Lake or the ocean wave dimension. That was why the Emperor of the Ruins had personally named her, and she had the honor of being listed on the God of War list of the ruins of deity with her nascent soul cultivation. Not only Long Xingnan, there were 2 servants standing behind her, a man and a woman. The man was tall and strong, like a mountain. His hair was twisted and coiled, which turned out to be black dragons. He apparently already had the power of a third-level nascent soul cultivator. The girl was still young, but she had a voluptuous figure. Her appearance didn't match her age. Her skin was like ice and her bones were like jade. Her beauty was unparalleled, and she could be compared to the most eye-catching female cultivators in the Jade Lake realm. Her aura was deep and unfathomable. Facing Long Xingnan from the second-grade world. They were like a group of local officials facing a princess on an inspection tour. They were really scared, as if they were treading on thin ice. How would they dare to act recklessly? Even Duanmu Ling, the current family master of the Duanmu family, who had reached the half-step nascent soul level, took a few steps forward and knelt in front of the woman. He trembled and said, "According to our investigation, Goddess Yanan fell into the enemy's hands under the hands of my useless son, Duanmu Ci. The Duanmu family is guilty. Goddess Xingnan, please punish us. Family Master Duanmu, please rise." Long Xingnan forced a smile and said gently, "When the nest is overturned, no egg can escape unscathed." The Jade Lake army was defeated. Even His Highness Lu He and the 4 nascent soul cultivators died bravely in battle. It's obvious that the enemy is fierce and powerful. You have done your best. It's not your fault. Thank you for not killing us, Goddess Xingnan. From now on, the Duanmu family will fight for the ruins Emperor Qing, and the Hailan world. Family Master Duanmu finally dared to rise. He secretly wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Emperor Qing's face was full of shame. His eyes were filled with anger. This defeat was too dismal. Most importantly, he had lost to an ant from Earth. It was the biggest joke in the world. It made him a laughingstock in the eyes of many experts. Although Long Xingnan was talented and had a high position, her words and actions were very appropriate. She was definitely not as arrogant and rude as her sister. She sipped her tea gently and said with a smile on her face, "You're right. Besides, Yanan has always been reckless and impulsive. She will get into trouble sooner or later. Being captured today is a rare lesson and experience for her. It will let her know that there is always someone better than her." At this moment, Emperor Qing said in a low voice, "Goddess Xingnan, that Kang Teichu is just an ant from Earth. Yet, he has repeatedly offended the heavenly might. His crimes are unforgivable. This sinner has gathered his army and is preparing to attack Star World directly. However, even though he was born in a humble place, his strength is indeed not to be underestimated. The battle report shows that he is actually able to execute and break the Forbidden Region. Fairy Xingnan, please lend us a helping hand. Cut that Jiang Taichu into pieces and wipe out the Stellar Sky Domain and Earth Domain." He was the lord of a domain. He was like a god. He was supreme. However, at this moment, there was a hint of sincerity in his eyes. However, the many heavenly sect masters, family heads, and nascent soul cultivators were not surprised or shocked. Instead, they all looked at Long Xingnan. Their eyes were full of enthusiasm and anticipation. It was no wonder. This woman was not only a peerless talent on the war god list of the ruins of immortals, but also the most beautiful woman in the Hailan world. It was rumored that Su Shenhua, Jun Aojian, Chu Liancheng, and Xiao Tianhe, who were ranked at the top of the God of War list, were her confidants. They usually discussed Dao and treated each other with respect. They had a deep relationship, or they were madly in love with her. They wanted to win her favor and become her Dao companion. It could be said that this woman had a wide range of friends not only in the Hailan world, but also in the other 4 second-class dimensions and even the ruins of immortals. Emperor Qing completely believed that as long as she was willing to go with the army, she could attract at least a few powerhouses on the war god list of the ruins of immortals. The conditions to be on the war god list were harsh. Generally, one had to live less than 300 years and be at least in the nascent soul realm. They were the young talents of the ruins of immortals and the future mainstays. These overlords on the war god list might not be comparable to late-stage nascent soul overlords like Emperor Qin, or even living fossils like Hu Shi and Duanmu Guang. However, they were all from Heavenly Lord families or the unparalleled Heavenly Sect. Some of them even had soul formation overlords in the imperishable sections. They were the future and the seeds of their families and were extremely precious. Once they went out, their sects would send nascent soul Heavenly Lords to protect them. In this way, the forces involved would be 10 times more powerful. It could be said that as long as Long Xingnan followed the army into battle, she would be able to win a great battle with a small group of nascent soul powerhouses. It was equivalent to 2 or 3 worlds like the Jade Lake attacking Jiang Tian together. At that time, it would be a dimensional reduction attack and a crushing momentum. Emperor Qin, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Long Xingnan said gently. The competition between cultivation forces is different from that in the mortal world. You have to catch the leader first and only kill the leader. We don't want to turn the mortal world upside down, shatter the mountains and rivers, burn the land and make the people miserable. We shouldn't suppress the ants of the mortal world by force. Instead, we should be soft and benevolent. On the other hand, as long as we kill Kang Te-Chu, the stellar sky domain and the earth domain will be leaderless and collapse without a fight. Then, we can use the art of benevolence to make those stragglers and mortals feel grateful and obedient. This way, we can achieve twice the result with half the effort and achieve long-term stability. Therefore, this time, I plan to personally meet Jiang Taichu, who you all have been talking about as a god. Long Xingnan's gentle face revealed a trace of terrifying killing intent at this moment. When the time comes, I'd like to see what kind of evil tricks he will use to break my supreme forbidden region. Her clear beautiful eyes were full of killing intent. Her voice was sonorous like the sound of a sword. She straightened her body and her whole person was like a peerless heavenly sword unsheathed, showing its sharpness as if it could cut through the heavens and sweep across thousands of worlds. Chapter 1357. But the next moment, Long Xingnan picked up the teacup, took a sip, and said with a smile, as for what the Jade Lake will do, it's a subordinate world of the Western Desert after all. The Hylon world can't interfere. If you want to kill to vent your anger, I won't stop you. Fairy Xingnan, what are you talking about? The Western Desert is already weak. What right do you have to order me around? I'll listen to all of your orders. Emperor Qin said politely, and then smiled, you're right, Fairy Xingnan. This time, I'll cooperate with Kang Te-Chu. I heard that Kang Te-Chu has closed the portal to the Kanglan realm, Qie realm, and Stellar Sky realm. Long Xingnan asked. Humph, I guess he's scared. Emperor Qin snorted and said with disdain, this bastard sent a message, saying that he will come to the Jade Lake within a month and fight with me to see who is better. He's talking big, but he's telling the truth. The portal to the 3 realms has been closed. Long Xingnan took a sip of tea, thought for a while, and suddenly stood up and said, how about this? Close the portal to the Jade Lake realm in the Kanglan realm, Qie realm, and Stellar Sky realm. In this way, he can only go to the Jade Lake through the Dragon Gate world. I'll go to the Dragon Gate world to kill him. Emperor Qin waved his hand and asked for all the information about Jiang Tian, including a vivid portrait. But he was still worried, Fairy Xingnan, although Kang Te-Chu was born in a backward planet, he's unimaginably powerful. He can fight against a nascent soul realm cultivator as a golden core realm cultivator. Many people suspect that he's the reincarnation of a nascent soul realm cultivator or even a soul formation realm cultivator. You have to be careful. Don't worry, uncle. Long Xingnan smiled and stepped out. She turned into a beam of golden light and flew toward the portal. My sister is in his hands. I'll be careful and think of a foolproof plan. I won't act rashly. And Jiang Tian had come out of seclusion. There was a loud rumble. The warm jade spirit vein within a radius of 10 miles crumbled and turned into dust. The earth caved in crazily, and huge ravines extended in all directions. The earth trembled as if it was about to crack open. Rumble. Divine General Gung Jin stood in the void with the sun and moon above his head. He was filled with the charm of eternal and unmoving laws. Even his outer appearance had changed significantly. He wore 12 crowns and a wide emperor's robe. He looked incomparably dignified. His eyes were like lightning and unstoppable. His feet seemed to be stepping on time, changing between time and space. The Gung metal godly body has finally reached perfection and evolved into the Golden Emperor immortal body. Jiang Tian let out a satisfied sigh. He opened his eyes wide and the divine light in his eyes seemed to be able to pierce through the sun and moon. Kill! At this moment, the Golden Emperor immortal body stepped forward. Dong! Beneath his feet, the void exploded, and the ground caved in, forming a huge crater with a radius of 10 miles. A terrifying sharpness that could slash through the heavens and pierce through all worlds erupted from his body, instantly sweeping across the entire Chino world. At this instant, the countless dangerous mountains and steep ridges within 50 kilometers were all slashed apart at the waist. Rumbling explosions resounded incessantly, and the entire continent seemed as if it was about to completely collapse. At this moment, countless beasts were frightened and frothed at the mouth. Their bodies twitched crazily. Many cultivators knelt on the ground and trembled. They said, "Long live the heavenly Lord, long live the Lord." Oh God! Bai Zai, Zhang Qianlei, and Ding Lingdang were dumbfounded. At this time, Jiang Tian's divine body took a step forward and the power it displayed was 10 times more terrifying than Hushi's heavenly blade. Thanks to the time array disc and the elixirs Jiang Tian gave them, Bai Zai and Zhang Qianlei advanced rapidly. Bai Zai had already reached the first level of the nascent soul level and Zhang Qianlei had successfully formed a golden core. They felt that their strength had skyrocketed, as if they had the help of God. They seemed to have the power to tear the sky and destroy the continent. But at this moment, facing the golden Thearcha's immortal body, they felt like ants facing a mountain. They couldn't move Jiang Tian at all. What a terrifying nascent soul formation. Even a perfected nascent soul cultivator can't move such a terrifying nascent soul formation. Even Long Yanan was terrified and sucked in a breath of cold air. At this moment, she felt that Chen Liuhe, ancestral patriarch binding sun, Duanmu Guang, and the others deserved to lose. Such a terrifying existence had never been heard of, even in the ruins of deity. Her sister, Long Xingnan, was extremely talented, but she wasn't even this terrifying when she formed her nascent soul. Only 10 miles were affected. Ah, Master still has a lot of spirit medicines and spirit pills. Why doesn't he break through to the nascent soul level immediately? He can already fight against nascent soul cultivators when he's at the first level of the golden core level. If he reaches the nascent soul level, he won't even be afraid of the ruins emperor, right? This thought uncontrollably appeared in Lei Sen's mind, which frightened him. Not long ago, in his mind, even Emperor Qin Qing was an unshakable existence, let alone the ruins emperor. But today, he actually came up with such a crazy idea, like a mouse seriously considering how to kill a fierce tiger. How would he know? If Jiang Tian wanted to break through to the nascent soul level, it would be extremely easy. But the formation of the 9 orifices divine infant was like the formation of the chaotic golden core. The conditions were extremely harsh. The 9 orifices divine infant had to be formed by breaking the core and forming the nascent soul with 9 supreme golden cores that had reached the nascent soul level. If Jiang Tian broke through to the nascent soul level with any of his divine bodies, he would have to stop his cultivation arts and drop his cultivation level to the nascent soul level before he could form the 9 orifices divine infant. Jiang Tian naturally would not do such a foolish thing. It was a strenuous and unrewarding task. Swish! Jiang Tian retracted his golden the arch immortal body and turned into a calm young man with an ordinary energy. He scanned his golden core divine disc with his immortal will. Then, he saw. In the golden core of the chaotic divine disc, the dazzling galaxy that represented the Gung metal divine body and the golden core was no longer illusory and ethereal. Moreover, the formation of the river of stars was no longer random and scattered. Instead, it formed a golden illusory image of an emperor. Layers of golden stars were embedded like rivets. They were like layers of dragon scales, forming a terrifying heavenly saber that the Golden Emperor held in his hand. The heavenly blade was unusually sharp, as if it could break the sun and the